This is our Volkswagen SUV comparison episode with the VW Touareg versus the VW Tiguan versus the T-Roc R and the T-Roc R-Line, to compare these two, versus the smaller ones, here the VW Taigo and the VW T-Cross, then the replacement for the Golf in the Northern American market, the Taos, because you can only get the Golf GTI and the Golf R there. The normal Golf versions are basically replaced by the Taos, and a little bit outside the other ones, the VW Amarok, their pickup truck, being here the outsider in this comparison review. Which one would you go for? Which one would I pick later on? Let's dig into the details. Let's go.
A full driving review of the updated VW Touareg. As you might know, this is also a sibling to the Audi Q8, the Porsche Cayenne and the Bentley Bentayga, and the chassis all built in the very same factory, and this one here is basically the cheapest of the siblings. Is this a strong thing for the Touareg, or is there more? And what have they changed? Let's find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front, which has been updated here with the very nice horizontal stress. Look at that, this integrated light strip here in the middle now, and new headlamps. Now HD matrix, so you have an elaborated high beam function, for example, a new 3-element daytime light signature, and you only see it really from the very front. Then they are very visible, and you can also change a lot with the lights in the infotainment system. We'll take a look at that very soon. Turning indicators in the front, dual styling in a way, because you have the cascading function. At the same time, it comes like alive in a pulsing style, so either we usually see either or. In this case, they have combined both of these effects. 4.88 meters or 192 inches is the length here of the Touareg. 19 to 22 inch wheels. These ones here are black 20-inch wheels with winter tires, so they look in comparison a little bit smaller. New here with the facelift is a roof sensor, so it detects if you have roof weight or not, and then the suspension is tuned accordingly, and that is giving you actually a better ride also when you do not have some weight on the roof, because before they had to calculate or set up the suspension that it would work with or without roof weight in both cases. So a better setup now for the suspension. Base versions of the Touareg will not get HD matrix lamps and also have the standard suspension. Most Touaregs being sold will now have the HD matrix lamps and the air suspension. This one here in the elegance trim. However then, for the plug-in hybrid, the usually available rear axle steering and the anti-tilt control not available for the plug-in model. And the rear here with the very nice cascading turning indicators and new signature at the sides, also in the middle part, and also illuminated VW logo here in red. That looks really striking. Big Touareg lettering. So I think the rear is the thing that has changed most visually here with the facelift. Do you like it? And for example here in the IQ Light settings, then you can also change the animations for the, that's the welcome and goodbye light. Key fob, slim, nice, good. Then door closing sound, very solid, I like that. You can also get a soft closing here, like that, nice. Then inside of the doors, really wrapped tightly, looks like good build quality. Here we have matte wood decor element, for example, and the inside door pockets, let's check that out, also have some felt covering at the lower part, for example. Then interior here with some capacitive BS touch buttons at the steering wheel. Yeah, they're not that good to use. At least we have the heated steering wheel command directly at the steering wheel as well. Then we have contour stitches here on the soft touch dashboard. Seats, sadly only animal skin available, so there are no alternatives there on the horizon, and they will also not change that. But of course different with the new ID models, for example. The seating comfort in general on these Ergo Comfort seats, however, is really good. Then you have this upright seating position, command driving position, and the headroom here with 189, 6 for 2, still left. And you also have this panoramic roof. And the cool thing is, this is actually one you can still really open. And there's also a shade available if there is a really, really hot day. But like that, you can leave a lot of fresh air in. Then here, the middle console, you have adaptive cup holders, and it works for large bottles as well. Very good build quality. Here, still a turning jog here for the volume. Also, it's an interesting sound. Also, this real shifting lever for the automatic gearbox. That is cool. However, what I don't favor that much is here, this front cubby hole. You slide this one open, and then you see already like your hand is almost like, you know, getting stuck in there. And then when you want to push it back again, like you have to really push it hardly in. So yeah, that's not ideal. In the front, inductive charging pad and USB-C charging. And then here, this really large armrest. Very well attached, and USB-C chargers underneath. And what they have updated here with the facelift is here, this knee pad at the inside middle console on the driver's side. This one here is softer, however not on the passenger side. Interior cockpit overview. Here the steering wheel goes electrically in and out, up and down. And you have this InnoVision cockpit that has this one unit but consists of two different screens, 15-inch here. So overall a really nice and likable design here, once again with these matte wood inlets. And you can also get this head-up display. The infotainment has been updated. Is it super quick now? Not really. However, this main menu looks better now, and that one also works faster. Most of the time you use Apple CarPlay, and with Auto integration that looks like this, goes all the way here. That's pretty cool. And one thing you actually have to know is, where are the options here? So you go to vehicle, and then you ask yourself, okay, what else is there? And then there it is. There are the settings. And then you can go through all the stuff. So you just have to know that it's there. Climate control, by the way, here, plus and minus. And here for the seat heating or the seat cooling. And the DIN audio sound system is really nice, like that. And this is your drive control center. You can go sport mode, but also to the off-road modes and so on. And you can also individually pump up the air suspension, but it also goes accordingly to the driving modes. And when it's dark and the headlamps are on, you can see the ambient lighting. Pretty cool here. And it's also split. You can change the lower part, like this line here, and the cup holders. Or you can also just change the upper part there with the integrated Touareg logo. That looks really spectacular, and of course you can also sync that if you like. Yeah, pretty cool, isn't it? And here at the side you have a nice puddle light to show you the way to the door. And now Leah is showing you a very interesting feature with the sun blinds right there, because there is a double one. Not many cars have that anymore. So here for the side sun, for example, and then when you have like special light situations where you kind of comes from both sides, you can protect yourself. Definitely have enough space here as a tall adult, here knee room wise, even if a tall driver is driving like this. And also as for the headroom with 189 or 6'2" is fine with this panoramic roof. Very nice and upright seating position. You can also vary here the back angle of the seat, more sleeping position or more upright. This middle seat here has this huge middle tunnel, but an own climate unit as well, and even cooler in this lower unit there. Look at that, when you put this one open, USB-C charging now, and a real powered socket here, 230 volt, that's nice. And actually also the middle seat is fairly comfortable, and that is not that, that often with the vehicles. And you can put down this here for cup holders. They are not adaptive though. Oh, and I like this manual rear shade here. Very nicely cut out, and also this top part here is soft touch at the rear. Well, look at these touch lights here in the rear. They are nice, aren't they? The trunk or the boot, 810 liters or 655, a little bit reduced for the plug-in hybrid. However, good width here, more than 1 meter or 40 inches. The length is about 90 centimeters or 36 inches. And here the height, a little bit less than 80 centimeters or 30 inches. Overall, quite good result. You can fold the seats right here, left and right, easily done. You can then put the seats really flat from the passenger cabin if you like. And the overall length to the seats we're having here, a little bit more than 170 meters or 67 inches. The charging cable needs to be stored right here. You can also put that one flat. Here our battery vacuum cleaner, just so everything always cleaned for you. And what's also interesting is that we can lower the vehicle if you have the air suspension to load in and out things easier. And also the towing hook can be folded out electrically right here at the bottom. Takes some seconds. There we go. Nice. Touareg is now all about the 3-liter V6 TDI, the diesel, or the TSI, the turbo petrol engine. This is also the basis for the plug-in hybrid version here, the V6 TSI. And usually the acceleration figure here is around 6 seconds, classic all-wheel drive with some rear-wheel bias. And in the plug-in hybrid version, then you also have an integrated electric motor, so it doesn't change the all-wheel drive distribution. However, with the update here now, still at 14 kWh net with the plug-in hybrid battery, they did not go for the battery upgrade like with the Porsche Cayenne. So definitely a reason less to go for the plug-in hybrid. And also the consumption, which is still super high, around 13 liters here for the plug-in hybrid when the battery is depleted, which is very interesting or important because usually when, for example, recently we had the Toyota Prius, the plug-in hybrid version, and when the battery was depleted there, the hybrid system was working like it would be an inbuilt hybrid system. Here it does not work at all. When the battery is depleted, you have actually even higher consumption than you would have with a pure petrol engine, just off the, the increased weight and so on. And in general, I have used this very engine here in several other models of the corporation, and here it's the highest in the consumption, even comparing to the Audi Q8 and the Porsche Cayenne. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, VW Touareg, Sport Mode, 70 km an hour to 120. That was quick. Really nice. Acceleration figure for the V6 TSI, usually around 6 seconds. And when you have the plug-in hybrid version here, due to the increased weight, the normal PF is a little bit slower. And the R PF, which has the same tech, it's just a little bit tuned higher. That one is a second quicker than the pure petrol engine actually. But all then more or less in the same region. And here on the motorway, German Autobahn is a very good vehicle for that because it's super comfortable with its upright seating position. It's also decently silent even at higher speeds here, although it's pushing the wind most obviously. And suspension, here the air suspension is doing a good job. In the sport mode, by the way, it goes a little bit stiffer then. And when you would close your eyes now, theoretically, obviously I won't do it now. Yeah, Leo is also, he's not gonna do that, is he? I feel that this is very similar to the other siblings. So, yes, of course, they're trying to sell you, especially the Cayenne and the Bentayga, for double the money or maybe even more. Are they worth it, technology-wise? Well, plug-in hybrid sense, in a plug-in hybrid sense, the Cayenne gets a bigger battery now. That is a significant technology difference, yes. And also this one here doesn't get the rear axle steering as a plug-in hybrid, but generally speaking, they are all more or less the same vehicle. And of course, Audi, Porsche and Bentley don't want to hear that because they charge you much more money than here for the Touareg. But it's just the case. They are built in the very same factory. Yes, the Bentley is then shipped over and then finished with all the details, but all the tech that is installed, they're built in the same factory and it's more or less the same vehicle. Not in the way of that it's like pure batch engineering. There are differences, but the base feeling of that platform here is more or less the same, and it's a good one, Also with its even entry, like the door sill to the floor mats and so on. And it just works. It's a very good product overall, no matter which one you pick of those. Here, let's go back. Yeah, we are still in sport mode. Acceleration, because we have freeway here now actually to unlimited speed. Also shows me that sign in the instruments. And let's see also, this car pass here, by the way, here, when I use the turning indicators, this blind spot monitor is also giving me another flash symbol, so an additional warning. And now from 100 kilometers an hour, we're already at speed. Let's check the acceleration. Let's go. $140, 160, 170, 180, and now we cancel just for security reasons. Now we have some recuperation finally from that plug-in hybrid. So good acceleration, and also still, I mean, considering it's a large SUV, very silent here, good noise insulation. Leah always has a very good sense for the noise. Silent,
it's
yeah?
very silent,
Yeah, okay. I mean, she has better ears than I do, so, or maybe, probably I went too often clubbing when I was younger. But I always wear earplugs, you know, but still, maybe that's the case, or I don't know. She can hear much better than I do. And that's always a good sign. So it's very calm and relaxing, especially on long motorway trips. And of course, then usually you would go back to the normal mode. You also can charge, by the way, the battery while driving, but that's not efficient at all, doesn't make any sense. And then there are also these off-road modes, for example. This is an off-road capable vehicle. We also have special off-road episodes of the Touareg from this generation. They're super interesting to watch. You can check them all out. It's easy, by the way, to find it also when you use the YouTube search and just put in Autogefühl, so our channel name. You don't have to use the German umlauts. With you, it will work as well. And just Autogefühl Touareg. And then you'll find all of these episodes. For example, we've been driving this one off-road in Morocco, which was a very epic ride, definitely. So, you know, again, on the gas, very good performance, and also steering input. It's pretty precise, good reactions. Even the lane changes is very good. Let's do one at 150 kilometers an hour. Let's go here. Really nice, doesn't shake up too much. The setup is actually quite sporty. I feel that the setup is a little bit sportier than the previous, you know, like this pre-facelift version. Maybe has to do with this new roof sensor or so, because now it's feeling, hey, there's no roof load on it, so I can put the suspension in a way that it's better for the handling without weight on the roof. That might be something about that. Do I miss the rear axle steering? On the motorway, obviously not, but in the city, yes, definitely. So, especially on tight European roads or parking in and out, basement garage, the rear axle steering definitely makes a lot of sense, and it's not available for the plug-in hybrid version. So, in Europe, probably it is wiser to still go with the diesel for this version here. Yeah, we have to say that for the lowest fuel consumption. Kind of irritating, by the way, here's this software version. When you change the temperature, here in the CarPlay mode, everything in the background gets dark. What is this and why? Or here when you use the seat heating or something, don't see a good reason for that. Only if you use the car internal GPS and then go for the temperature, it kind of gets blacked out, but I mean still you can't see stuff in the background. Yeah, I mean, when they did the software update now, I don't know why they didn't consider this, so this should be better. Also, you know, let's see, I'm here and then I want to go back to the CarPlay again. Then I have to wait again here for this overlay, but at least you have this, you know, so this is actually good that you have these top symbols, you know, and then you can switch back to the CarPlay, for example, right here. So overall, yeah, the software update still makes sense. It's also a little bit quicker and more reactive. Yeah. How well this one is driving is really just this is like really the specialty of this vehicle. How good this platform here is driving. That counts for the Q8 and the Cayenne and the Bentayga. And realistically, you really have to say the Touareg is the most clever choice of these ones because you just pay the least amount of money for more or less the same experience. Especially when you're in a sport mode, it comes close to the Q8 or Cayenne experience. Yes, of course, the Cayenne will be even sportier, and there are sportier versions of that, and you also get an 8-cylinder. We're just talking about what is the most clever choice for the majority of customers. Still, they do not offer any animal skin alternatives here, so that's what I would expect when I want to personally pick that vehicle. So that would be a deal breaker to me, but in general, of course, definitely a more clever choice in comparison to the more expensive models. And some city driving. So what I do criticize, especially about the plug-in hybrid version, is usually when I have plug-in hybrids, especially Toyota ones, then it doesn't really matter if it's hybrid or plug-in hybrid. If the plug-in hybrid battery is depleted, it works like a hybrid still. And here, when I lift my foot off the throttle, it doesn't now, you know, like sometimes, in very rare occasions, it goes to there back again. So it's like just for a split second, it goes in the electric mode. And that's it. So there's hardly any recuperation into the battery, and that is then used as the significant buffer to move the vehicle when you just slide on the throttle and so on. You hardly have any electric moments. So this here only makes sense if you still get a governmental subsidy in your country for a plug-in hybrid, for example. Other than that, the plug-in hybrid version of the Touareg makes no sense at all. And also the Cayenne battery is not in here. So this one here is still at 14 kilowatt hours net. Maybe for rare occasions where someone has like a driving profile, 10 kilometers every day to work and back again, you can charge at work, at home, drive electric, and then on the weekend you drive with the petrol. That would make sense in a way, but all other cases rather go for the pure petrol, or in this case the pure diesel would also make sense. Yeah, as I said earlier, the fuel consumption is really high, and I had a lower fuel consumption with the pure petrol engine actually. Pure electric driving, by the way, would work up to a speed of 140 kilometers an hour. What is very good, however, is the noise insulation. So it's really silent here, for example, around 100 kilometers an hour, around 60 miles an hour. Super easy, super comfortable as well. 20-inch wheels with mini tires here. Have this upright seating position, good visibility roundabout. So this relaxed driving and traveling feeling, that is what makes this Touareg here so special, actually. Here now in the new generation, the Tiguan wants to set a new mark and saying, hey, I'm top of the segment here. But is it really true? We'll find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the all-new Tiguan generation. Different trims, different engine versions we drive today as well. And here you can see this one is the R-Line. There's a lot of sporty accentuations going on in the lower part, high gloss black and this mesh front grille. And we have here as a comparison the Elegance. This is the other top trim, more this horizontal focus, more chrome styling. So yeah, a little bit more elegant approach. And the base version would be closer to this than it would be to this one. Here the R-Line also has more high gloss black all over the vehicle. And in general, the styling, before the Tiguan was more like, I would say a little bit more, angular and so on. Now more round shapes to improve aerodynamics. So it went down from 0.33 to 0.28 in the CD value, which is good. CD value always better when it's lower. Not necessarily in the 20-inch wheels, R-Line and so on. This is worse aerodynamics-wise, but the overall aerodynamic form has really massively been improved. You have these air curtains here, air going through here and here, going through the wheel arches. Then also a more round hood. Then here it's closed actually. This whole light area is closed, you can see. And more aerodynamic optimizations across the vehicle. And you can also see that here this light integration, it starts here. Then there's the light strip. The illuminated VW logo, not yet. It will follow later. They couldn't get it ready for the Tiguan when it was launched right now. But then it will come at a later stage. And the light logic is you have a base headlamp, already LED, then you have a higher performing LED, and this one is the optional matrix LED, so-called IQ light for best high beam performance. And then you also have the cascading turning indicators, both in the front and in the rear. Oh, and Leah found some Easter eggs. Look at that from the outside, hard to see just when you have the hand behind it. There we go. There's the Tiger. You could also better see it from the inside. Aww. And the other side has an iguana. So cute, but why is that? And the reason for that is that Tiguan is a combination, the name of Tiger and iguana. Tiger, iguana, Tiguan, I think it's nice to implement that gimmick. And now the most important thing is, it's not an option. It's not only in the R-Line or in the Elegance. It's even in the base trim. That's something special for Volkswagen, right? Major step forward also as for the noise insulation. The soundproof front windshield is standard, and then option you can get an acoustic package. And here at the side windows, front and rear, we have then the dual insulation also equipped with our test cars today. 4.54 meters or 179 inches is the length of the new Tiguan, just slightly longer than the previous generation. This one here, the Elegance version, or also the base trim, would have the matte wheel arches here. Wheels from 17 to 20 inch. These ones here are 19-inch wheels in this rather closed aerodynamic design. Then more of this matte cladding here all around. But already here in the elegance you have this shiny frame trim around the windows. And you can see this is more or less a conservative design. You have a dropping line right here. More form follows function that you have space on the interior. And now coming to the R-Line, if we move over to our second vehicle, you can see more high gloss black. For example, around the wheel arches. These ones are also the optional 20-inch wheels. With the R-Line, 19 would be standard, 20 then also optional for the R-Line. Here in the black styling, the most sinister styling R-Line badge. Once again, the closed look right here and aerodynamic optimizations here. They make the car longer here, also with the top spoiler, so the wind can better flow away right there. That makes so much difference. Also here, see these edges right here? This is also optimization for aerodynamics, and it's actually even more important that the car is not getting pulled from the wind in the rear than how much it pushes in the front. So rear aerodynamic optimization is actually the most important thing. Very interesting. Elegance here, the matte, more plastic styling with the chrome accentuation, whereas we have in the R-Line once again high gloss black and this meshed grille structure once again for the sportier, more sinister look. And not sure if you can really see that, but the R-Line top spoiler here is even a little bit longer. So although the R-Line in general is worse as for aerodynamics, this longer spoiler would be then a little bit better. Oh, very important, by the way, this middle light strip, and also later when the logo is illuminated, will also be active while driving when it's dark and the main headlamp unit is also on. Pretty cool, right? Technology-wise is actually the biggest news, the DCC. We have both vehicles here equipped with that, the diesel we're driving later as well. DCC has been upgraded to a DCC Pro that now employs a 2-valve system, so it's more elaborate and can rule more between comfort and sportiness. And even in the infotainment system, you can not only choose presets, but also individually rule that. Here, this new central knob, either manual volume adjustment, that's good, would work when having music running, and then you press it, and then you can either have here the driving mode selection directly, comfort, sport, and so on, so easy to select while driving. You can also slide in this one here, and then select the ambient lighting moods. Not sure if it's necessary to have that here, but yeah, it's an interesting function for sure, like this. So, and then you see what you are selecting, but you can also go deeper in the menu, and then here with the individual modes, this is just information, but here with the individual mode I can have more settings, and then you can also individualize this DCC setting from minus to plus. This is the most comfortable one, this is the sporty ones, and the interesting thing is it's not only here then. So when you, for example, set it here, it rules between approximately this spectrum. When you have it here, it's like in this spectrum. So it's always plus and minus, but this is kind of like the preset. However, I personally recommend rather a comfortable setting to have an elaborated ride. Still, we'll find out more when we drive the vehicle. Key fob, high gloss black, not my favorite. Door closing sound, VW is always famous for that. And here, it's also good. Nothing super special, but good overall. Here inside, this is like a bright trim. The R-Line would be darker. Decoy element is already right here. I love the door inside handle, which is in this matte silver trim actually. And what's actually quite cool here, at the inside we have felt covering at the inside door pockets. Elegance trim with the Elegance entry badge. Also here the normal steering wheel with real buttons on the steering wheel. So they have returned to real buttons for all versions actually. VW says they want to use more real buttons. Again, good decision. Also we here, our community in Autogefühl has massively influenced that. And then the R-Line steering wheel would have here a perforation and also a logo in the lower part. Other than that, the steering wheel is the same. And then these are the ergo active seats. You would start base with fabric seats. Then there are usually microfiber seats for elegance, and this is the optional animal skin trim. Here in the bright styling, you can also get the dark stylings, of course. The thing is that VW in their ID models, in the electric models, go forward and all animal-free and sustainable materials. Whereas in the models with still have combustion engines, say like, what the hell, we don't care about sustainability. And that is not consistent. Why would you do that? Why are only electric vehicles supposed to be better as for the rest of the materials and the features? I don't get it. This is definitely something to criticize. However, you can get really nice microfiber seats here also for the Tiguan. They perform even better than these ones here. They are softer and more comfortable and more breathable actually. Then here with 189, 6'2", lot of room still above my head. You can also get a panoramic roof still. Steering wheel, menu control, in and out, up and down. So the base ergonomics are actually really good. You can find a good position also as a tall driver. And Leah has already seen that. Yeah, I saw that with the camera. Here, the switch gear, like in the ID7, forward, reverse, directly here at the steering column. That cleans up the lower middle console where we showed you that new, functionality button. Interior cockpit overview. Here in this trim is bright here, and also this illuminated trim here with the elegance version. So you have this decor element. Tiguan it says, in the R-Line it says the R badge, so it looks a little bit different then, but it's only available in the top trim versions actually. Then 13-inch would be standard. This is here the optional 15-inch screen. It's optional for all versions actually. Yeah, typical options policy. The sliders are now illuminated. It's good to have them versus only in the screen, but manual would be better there. In the very, very new generations of the Volkswagen vehicles, the manual climate knobs will be coming back. Also thanks to our coverage. Then here you can also directly select the seat cooling, for example. And here the digital instruments behind it. This is covered with an anti-reflective coating that you can better see them. It also has more a matte appearance, I would say. And you can also change, for example, the view in the digital instruments. Sorry for that spontaneous burst of rage. Here, when you have a door opened, then it does not work to change the view. You have to click OK first. Then you can also switch the middle view. Here, for example, also with a full map like this. It's somehow also complicated what you want to have there, because then you have to go back or here to go close again. You can control the inside parts actually. But then you can also go to the outside here on the right. You can go to the left part. I think a little bit over-engineered. I think others could say it's highly customizable. The infotainment system now has this new back and also has more CPU power, for example. And then here, this is also a main menu. You can select the plug-in hybrid has the static air conditioning. You can even select the zones you want to preheat or pre-cool then. And now where can I adjust the head-up display? Hey Ida, head-up display higher.
You can adjust settings on the screen.
So then it brings me to this menu at least, and I can adjust the position. There we go. And my favorite feature for the head-up display is you can pick this snow mode. So when everything is white, then the number here, the speed turns to blue. I would maybe drive it like this always. Hey Ida. Hey Idaho. Wait, it's hello. Hello Ida. Why do you keep interrupting me?
Oh, that's something I still need to learn.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Yeah. So yes, the software has become better, definitely, but that's something that sometimes it gets activated and then records everything you're saying here.
Oh, that's something I still need to learn.
Yeah, and then you haven't activated it yourself, but just becomes active by this activation word, and then it's telling you something. So what I usually do, that I deactivate these activation words and I just use the button on the steering wheel then for the input for the voice system. That's usually better with most vehicles. Middle console, space above, and then underneath 2 inductive charging pads. They charge quickly, very nice, and are also cooled, and USB-C charging. So here this lower middle console. You have these sliders here in the front. You can also take them out completely. Then you have the cup holders at this moment far in the back. But does it really make sense? However, you have the choice. You can put this one out. Then,
I don't know how to do that yet.
Okay, well, I know how to do that yet. Then here you can put this one here and put it to the forward position. And I think that would be There we go. More suitable for bottles in the front. And then
That's something I still need to learn.
not sure why the voice assisted.
That's something I still
Thank you.
Well, you see, yeah, this is definitely better now, is it? Rear doors, hard pack. In the front door, it's soft. Here is actually hard pack. Huh? Huh? Well, for that price, I would expect something different. And then here, the rear bench, you can slide it forward or backward. You can also adjust the angle here, like this. Wait a minute. Ah, there we go. So like this, or all the way back. Then the middle part, slide down, and you have yeah, I remember with the static review, I had some problems with that as well. So these are the cup holders. Let's say, I wouldn't exactly say I'm very convinced of this new mechanism. Let's take it that way. So then here, the other seat, you can see how the angle is varying. There we go. And we can also slide this one forward or backward. And when I'm in the backward position and I'm driving on the passenger seat, what am I talking about? When I'm driving in the driver's seat, that makes sense. Here, there's still a lot of legroom left, no problem. And headroom here with 1A9 or 6 for 2, also no problem. So it's a good offering of space here in the rear. And then we have also USB-C chargers and also seat heating for the rear when that's all powered. Trunk and luggage capacity. It's also cool to do it here, 2 in a row. 2 for 1. 650 liters for the normal setup, 475 for the plug-in. But what are the differences? Here, normal combustion engine, 1 meter or 40 inches in width. That's the same. The length, 88 centimeters or 34 inches. It's just more luggage capacity because you have more room here in this area. And we also have, for example, you can get a 220 or 230 volt normal plug to fold the seats. Pull this one here left, pull this one here on the right. Why doesn't it fold? Ah, okay. Yeah, that's because the electric seat function that goes automatically back. I'll soon fix that. First of all, here underneath, more space than in the combustion engine version. You can also house a complete replacement tire here, because here, the subwoofer, when you have that option, it is now in this form here, so it leaves space for a replacement tire or for the plug-in hybrid battery. Soon going to show that to you. So I need to put that electric seat more forward that the rear bench can actually fall down. That's the thing with these electric functions. So they automatically go back for comfort seating, and then we go here. This is then the length as I would be seating as a tall adult, 170 in meters, that's 67 inches. And now the question is, what about the plug-in hybrid? Let's move over. So on top here, it's the same, just here on the side, because they put the 12 volt starter battery right here in the left. So for the plug-in hybrid, they had to move the fuel tank. It's right here in this box. Underneath this box, you can find the high voltage battery from the plug-in hybrid. But you can still have some space here for charging cables. So this is then actually the main difference. As for engines, well, I love that dual shot here. Right, always. Then we have a 1.5 TSI, and it's the base engine, 2 horsepower specs. In the 150 horsepower specs, it's around 9 seconds in the acceleration figure. Always MHEV, mild hybrid system, and also the dual clutch transmission 7-speed DSG. On that base of the 1.5 TSI is also the plug-in hybrid version, new with a 20 kWh net battery, 80 kilometers or 50 miles of real-world realistic range. So massively improve the plug-in hybrid electric capacity. It's also important for taxation reasons, for example, especially in Germany. Then there will also be a 2-liter TSI, both with all-wheel drive, and the 2-liter TDI, the diesel, also in 2 horsepower specs. The bigger one we also drive today, 193 horsepower, also with all-wheel drive. The latter one, the big diesel, is then the one with the highest towing capacity at 2.3 tons. The other one, then depending on the engine version, a little bit less. So all of the engine specs have more or less their advantages or disadvantages. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, all new Tiguan, testing different engine versions. Here starting with an all-wheel drive version of the TDI. So 7.7 seconds in the acceleration figure, so a little bit stronger. And let's see how that behaves. From 40 kilometers an hour, we'll accelerate it out. Let's go. Plop, 100. Oh, that even triggered the Leah meter just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, she's used to like really sporty vehicles nowadays. Yeah, so decently quick. And when we're driving in the city and so on, then you hear this typical diesel nailing, we say in Germany. So, yeah, rather unpleasant sound indeed. But here on the motorway, the difference is rather minor. I was also picking up the sport mode. I can go back to the comfort mode, then the RPMs go a little bit lower. And then actually at higher speeds, the difference between the engines is not that relevant, I would say. And here now on the motorway, 1 kilometers an hour, we can also experience the driving assist. Here travel assist is also then upgraded for this vehicle. You set it here, you pick different mode, travel assist, limiter or ACC, and then you set your speed then also on the steering wheel, and here you set different 10 kilometer steps, and with resume you can set 1 kilometer steps above. Here at the moment 110, and it's really good to have the real buttons back for all versions, so it's easy to press these real buttons then. And let's see how good does it handle. Here also shows me green steering wheel symbol. That means it's the active lane keeping assist, so the car is doing that semi-autonomously, so it's level 2. And so far, let's see how this car is being centralized quite well. Now there comes like this slight bend in the motorway. Let's see how the steering reacts, if there's any hectic movement and so on. Yeah, that's actually very smooth. Yeah, flawless. That's really good. The steering, indeed, I would like more feedback, but what you can also do is go to an individual mode. And in the individual mode, to do that while driving is a little bit complicated. Here you have to go there, and then you can set the DCC, the adaptive suspension, but you could also put, for example, a soft suspension, but then the steering to a sportier node. And yeah, that's maybe also a good choice in long term to have your personal individual mode. Oh, thank you for the heads up. Interesting overtaking maneuver by the truck. Yeah, but here, good on the brakes, also good reaction from the steering. You don't have to turn the steering wheel that much actually. And what's also really cool here, one click on the assistance systems, I can easily click there, lane assist is deactivated, and also this EU speed warning, I deactivated it in advance even. No one has seen that. So it's really good. When you're annoyed by some systems, they need to be on always at start of the vehicle now by just mandatory from the law. So the manufacturers, the only thing they can do is make it easy for you to deactivate them, and that's exactly what they did here. So I think hats off to VW that they... Am I just praising VW for something they have done on the software side? That's a premiere. So yeah, usually it's always that they have great chassis, great suspension and so on, but they were lacking behind in software, and now they're also picking up with the software things and finding good customer-oriented solutions for the software, like here with the deactivating of the assistance systems. So that is actually a good thing to test also while driving, that you know that it's actually easily handleable. What I also feel here on the motorway, so the acoustic windscreen in the front is standard. This one here, by the way, also the one with the heating foil, and I don't see any heating foil. There are two solutions. There are these, like the individual heating lines in there, the old technology. I always see it and it's like, I can't drive that way. Some can, some not. And then this is like this integrated foil, and it looks like there would be nothing. Still, it's a heated front windscreen. The only problem would be if you have polarized glasses on, then you can see some reflect. I think it's still manageable, it still works, but that's the only thing. You could maybe see some, I don't know. I haven't seen it myself yet. Did you? Maybe? I don't know. Oh, now we can drive 130. Let's see, 110 to 130. Oh, I need to get off the motorway actually. But you see also good on the brakes as well. Nice to put the turning indicator in. yeah, so it's actually good reaction also from the drivetrain, from the brakes and so on. Overall good feeling, and that was like, you know, always like more than 1 kilometers an hour, more than 60 miles an hour, and the noise insulation is really very good here. So the front windscreen is, yeah, we have a beeper. Front windscreen is standard insulated, and this one here is also equipped with the optional insulating pack. So that means then that the side mirrors, the side windows, front and the back also have dual insulation, and we felt that it's really very silent in here. Definitely more silent than the previous generation. Then the better aerodynamics that also come together. So that is that's really good, especially for longer motorway trips. Super silent in here. The whole vehicle feels from driving actually really premium. It feels like a premium ride. I love that. What I really want to test, probably the most exciting thing, because we have the new DCC here. So when we go here to the individual settings, now set really to the most comfortable DCC sitting. So just feel how the individual waves are being evened out. It feels really soft. I mean, it's also a quite good road, but there's some waves in there, but that feels really elaborated, like more upmarket segment. Now let's put to the sportiest setting. The touch driving. Let's go here. Wow, that's notable. Now you feel like these individual bumps in the road way more clearly. That's interesting. Wow. I mean, now of course we have a little bit sportier feedback. Yeah. So here, sportier feedback then. When we go a little bit slalom alike. But now let's do the slalom again with the most comfortable setting. I mean, the slalom reaction is actually quite good in both cases. So I wouldn't say when... Let's do here again. What do you say? Yeah, in slalom reaction it doesn't differ that much. It's more really when you're running over the bumps. That's just like bumpier in the sportier setting, but you have a little bit more feedback from the road. But actually, I would drive with the most comfortable setting, honestly, because the car doesn't feel unsporty from suspension here. It doesn't lean too much in the corners. But then again, it's such a smooth ride. So my tip here definitely would be individual mode, steering to sport, and the DCC all the way to comfort. And then you have a great driving setting here, actually. Now the plug-in hybrid, and I try to do an acceleration electric only. Let's see if I can manage. Well, that was 0 to 50. It could be a little bit quicker, but I want to be gentle because when I use the pin down, then also the combustion engine goes on. But you can see you can even accelerate quite quickly, all electric. This is also the focus of this new plug-in hybrid, that it's more electric than before. Not only with the higher range, the bigger battery and so on. So realistic range around 80 kilometers, always depending on your driving profile from this 20 kilowatt hours net battery. But also in general, smoother and just more silent and less combustion engine. For example, before when I go here to the S shifting mode, usually the combustion engine would hop on, but that's not the case here anymore. And also when you select the driving profile, here from comfort to sport, it also doesn't go on. So before the engine went on, now it doesn't do that, only when you really apply the power. And we can also compare that. So for example, here in the comfort mode, let's see when we hit the throttle, there we go, it's on. But here in the sport mode, the thing is that, there we go, we have more response from the engine as well. And you might always wonder, isn't it bad for the engine when it suddenly hops on at a high RPM? Of course, it's always better not to do that in a way, but sometimes it's maybe needed. So I asked the VW experts what do they actually do as a countermeasure. First of all, like the coating from the inside of the cylinder is a different one. It's a more elaborate, stronger one that helps against possible bad effects on the engine. And also, if the engine is not running at some point they use then, you know, a little bit of oil that's running through the engine to just, you know, to give it enough fluid that it doesn't run dry, that you don't have bad effects on the engines then in that respect. So there are some countermeasures as for that, so that you're not get a broken plug-in hybrid engine pretty quickly. But I would recommend to not maybe have the situations frequently, and try to gently push the engine on then. But at some point maybe it is needed for safety reasons and so on, and at least you know that you can theoretically do that. So here also the transitions, they also worked on that the, you know, all electric driving and then the mixed hybrid driving, you also have smoother transitions in between, and you also have better recuperation. So when I hit the brake pedal, the recuperation is also more possible in total than before, and also there the transition is better than before. What's also interesting is that we can change the recuperation levels, but it's not, we don't have like a B mode here. This is still the S mode, which is predominantly then for the hybrid driving when the engine is on. So you need to adjust the recuperation modes then in the infotainment system. Yeah, doing that easily while driving is not, it's actually a little bit complicated, to me at least, as for the driver. But we have set here our hotkey. Thank you, Leah. So she's the best recuperation expert. So exactly. And then Leah can select between low, automatic, and high. So lower, it's like I lift the throttle. There's mainly rolling, you know. So and then we have automatic or high. We can whatever. We can start with high. So when I accelerate and then foot of throttle, there's more recuperation. You can also see that in here. It's not exactly a super strong one-pedal driving feeling, but it's notable, definitely. An automatic, which would be the standard setting, is also checking out like the ACC, is there a car in front of me or not, or also according to the topography changes on the map. That's very interesting. And even more interesting, since they homologated that with the low setting, you can have all of the three modes and then restart the vehicle, and you have it in the last mode selected. And that's good because maybe you favor one mode or the other, and then you just stay in that mode. Yeah, at some point you have to recharge 11 kilowatt AC, 50 kilowatt DC peak. So that then will take you 25 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. That is also massively quicker than it was before. So the whole plug-in hybrid system is more usable. You might wonder, why do they employ such a high buffer? Because when I say 20 kilowatt hours net, and maybe you read on, you know, some spec sheets like 25, 26 kilowatt hours, that's the gross figure, and they have such a high buffer that they can maintain the same value for you as a customer for the whole lifetime of the vehicle. The battery does lose some capacity over time, but not like the whole buffer in a couple of years, you know. But I think it would still be better that you offer more from the start. Maybe then you lose a little bit over a couple of years, but then I had more before. So but that's definitely like a strategy thing they decided. If you use both powertrains at the same time, you know, like here in sport mode, when you push it on, you can even have a better acceleration. Let's go. Ooh. Plop, that's 80. That went quick. So, because the plug-in hybrid drivetrain here will be the second quickest in the lineup, quickest with around 6 seconds in the acceleration figure, will be the 2-liter TSI with 265 horsepower on all-wheel drive. This one here, front-wheel drive only. You maybe also heard and felt that we had some wheel spin in the front, so much power just in the front axle. Now the pure petrol engine, 1.5 TSI. Let's go. Plop, that's 80. Little bit downhill though. I mean, acoustic-wise, the coolest, I feel. Have the pure petrol engine sound. Of course, it's in a way then also the slowest of the ones in the test today, but it doesn't feel like that. So, yeah, and you have a quite natural feeling to that engine here. Weight-wise, if you ask yourself, hey, the plug-in hybrid, is it much heavier? It's about 250 kilograms, so there are like 500 pounds difference. This is not that you would extremely feel that in most situations. So At the same time here, the TSI is the lightest and it kind of also feels light in a way, but not that the plug-in hybrid you would say, hey, no, this is heavy and this feels completely different in the handling. In the handling, they are all really good indeed. We have to see if, you know, also reliability and software and like electronics keeps up to that level. I cannot promise that, but from suspension, that is really great, and how the car feels as, you know, as a whole. Just, you know, 2 days earlier, we've been driving the Peugeot 3008, which is the exact competitor also. We have driven it in the all-electric version though, so can't one-to-one compare it. It's also available with the comparable engine though, and we have to say we both experienced that, talked to Leah about that too, that this one here, the Tiguan, is maybe more conservative in the interior, styling-wise and so on, but it feels so much more elaborated because of that great suspension and the steering feel and so on. This is something where it really shines, especially with the DCC, now called DCC Pro, so I can really recommend to go for the adaptive suspension. Maybe not all the other bells and whistles, but the suspension is really something you should go for. Engine or the drivetrain is always a combination of entry price and the usage. Taxation reasons might push a lot for the plug-in hybrid. Yeah, that's probably also then a good choice if you can save a lot of money, especially with the company car. For most private use, then here the 1.5 TSI might just be a good pick. And also consumption-wise, well, you can also score some good values around 6 liters, 1 kilometers, like 40 mpg US, 50 mpg UK, in really good ideal conditions using that MHEV smart hybrid drive system. If you have some more dynamic driving, rather towards 7.5 liters in 1 kilometers, like 30 mpg US, 40 mpg UK. This would also then, the latter also count for the TDI in the all-wheel drive spec, because that also consumes some more fuel. So there you see that TDI and TSI come very close. Only when you go like really high-speed motorway, then the TDI can catch up and is very good in the consumption, relatively low, whereas the petrol engine has a wider span of consumption, so the TDI doesn't vary so much in the consumption. That's the thing. And the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, you can only always say it depends how much electric driving and how much petrol driving you do for that hybrid drivetrain.
Race mode, easy sport. This thing did have a launch control, didn't it? Oops, wasn't me.
The VW T-Roc R is, so to speak, a Golf SUV on steroids. How good is it now here in that facelifted version? With Thomas on Autogefühl, let's go! In the front there's some grille and spoiler changes with the facelift, but it's more that the normal T-Roc versions look now more like the R, for example, especially the R-Line looks now more identical to the true R model. Yeah, that might be annoying then for true R model customers. However, you still get the R logo there and also a nice light strip in the lower part underneath the headlamps, LED standard and optional matrix LED. And then you also have additionally that lower vertical daytime running light. That is of course a very fancy option, and also in the lower part a really strong spoiler. It works very well with the typical R color, the lapis blue, which is also somewhat Thomas blue here on Autogefühl. Short look behind the scenes here with, of course, a fitting Thomas blue microfiber towel then fitting to the exterior color of the car. Okay, that's coincidence. Or is it? Well, here the lower part of the spoiler, the black one, is kind of prone to these, these dots that appear when water is drying out. So yeah, this is then a detail cleaning just for you, that you can actually check out the car when it's really beautiful and clean. The length at 4 meters 24 or 167 inches. Wheels do start 18-inch in the T-Roc R and optional 19-inch wheels, of course more massive styling, are badging right here. They still stick with crossover wheel arches. It also does feature off-road driving modes. The all-wheel drive system is front wheel bias plus rear on demand, but here in the R version a lot of torque is being sent to the rear wheels. Unlike Tiguan R, R2 R and Golf R, in a new generation or facelift. Here, this one does not get a torque splitter at the rear, so it's a more simplified version. But still, we will see in the driving part how agile it still is. By the way, you've probably already seen it. It's one of my big hobbies to dress accordingly to the vehicle color. So you know, when you watch a video here on our channel and I'm not dressed according to the vehicle color, or let's say in a either matching or let's say color fitting way, then definitely I did not know before which color I get on location. So yeah, then you always know. So in this case, yes, I knew before. And what's also interesting, here at the C-pillar, you have this color, yeah, carbon fiber-like, but it's, just like a sticker or something. Still, it brings some more sportiness, but would have been necessary? I think rather not. Tell me in the comments, what do you think about sporty SUVs? Is it a contradiction or does it work? Design-wise, it's always a challenge, but here in this case, I think it really worked. It's on the one hand typical Volkswagen AG hatch style, on the other hand here the black accentuation, the modern lamp signature here also in the facelift, and the overall size of the vehicle work for that. And also, yeah, the Akrapovic exhaust, that option, almost 4,000 euros, but already visually it does pay off. Well, and then there's of course that sound you already heard. And if you have the matrix LED option, by the way, in the front, then you also have in the rear cascading turning indicators. And in the front, by the way, the indicators look then like this. Subscribers know that here on Autogefühl we have the Autogefühl fake exhaust police when manufacturers use fake exhaust. Gladly, no job for them for today. But the reason I saw that one of you wrote it like FEP, so for fake exhaust police. That's awesome, right? So maybe we can say like AFAP, so for Autogefühl fake exhaust police. And then maybe with these police wagon emojis that are there, put them in the comments, I would love to see them. Previous generation khaki, which I do prefer because this fob does not feature high gloss black. That's better to me. And then door closing sound. Yeah, that's quite solid. Not the best we've heard though. Yeah, I would say in the region of okay. Interior checkup, inside of the doors. A, high gloss black. B, hard pack at the inside of the doors. Well, at least this soft part for your armrest is good. And the window levers are also good quality. And this is easy to control. Our entry badge, and at night you also see a puddle light projected from the side mirrors, maybe in the basement garage. Then our steering wheel, blue inserts and also blue contrast stitches at the inside. That's beautiful. Then you have hashtag capacitive BS buttons at the steering wheel right there. Left side also with the R mode selector. I'll talk to you about that when we drive the vehicle. Right side to control something of the digital instruments, which are right here, and also standard here for the T-Roc R. Standard also these beautiful sport seats here with gray microfiber R stitching, then fabric inserts right there, also with that blue styling. They look great and are also indeed comfortable. Then you also have some leatherette applications as beauty element on the sides. The R sits 20 millimeters lower in the base suspension, which is then a stiff one, or option you can get the DCC, the adaptive suspension, which we also have in this vehicle. And you have a good mix of seating position. It's not too low, it's not too high, kind of crossover style or compact SUV. And also steering wheel up and down, in and out. You can find a very nice position. And indeed, these sport seats here are not only looking good, they keep you tight at the same time. They even deliver good long-term comfort. And headroom with 1,89 m or 6'2", plenty of left. Interior overview, new with the facelift here, now soft touch material at the top of the dashboard. That's a good improvement. Then you would start 8-inch screen with some knobs. This one, the option 9.2-inch screen. Then once again you see here perforations at the side of the steering wheel and shifting levers. Digital instruments, that happens while agile driving. You can however bring the consumption down to around 9 liters on 1 kilometers with long way motorway driving. Then it's 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK, but yeah, most of the time it will be a little bit worse indeed, like you've seen here. Then you can also change these views right here. And if you stick with that one, you can also change what you want to see in the middle part actually. Also GPS, and then you can also make that one full screen like this. This infotainment system, basic menu, that's simple enough if you want to change sound, for example. Beats audio system is an option. Let's soon test that. Here the car internal GPS is just too slow, not really responsive. This software won't win prizes, and also not the hardware that is behind it. Here you will rather use Apple CarPlay. Beats audio system here is actually quite decent to listen to, like that. This then here the overall CarPlay integration, of course, also Android Auto is possible. Wireless or via cable, you can pick that then. I recommend the cable connection, it's more stable. And then you have a new climate unit. Yes, the knobs are gone. You have a capacitive BS solution in here. However, 4 capacitive buttons here, or capacitive fields or areas, it's quite well to use. You can either touch or slide, that's both possible, and it's like actually large enough to see. Below that you have 2 USB-C chargers, inductive charging pad, and also the massive shifting lever. Dual clutch transmission is standard. And then an off-road driving mode selector, not sure how often you will use that. And then we have cup holes, but they're not adaptive actually, that's a hit and miss. And then some more space underneath this armrest. Rear bench also features the sport seat layout with the grey microfiber. Looks really amazing. And if there's a tall driver, there's not too much knee room left, so I only fit in here because the seat back is kind of soft. So yeah, I have to then, you know, spread my legs a little bit, then I do fit better here. Headroom wise, however, this is no problem, and overall the seating position in the rear with that single seat setup is also very decent. Again, you shouldn't just have 2 long legs. 2 USB-C chargers then here now in that middle area in the rear in the facelift. 3 times in. And sitting in the middle part is again a knee problem, but not a height problem, although it's of course a little bit stiffer than here in that middle area. By flipping the logo, electric hatch, and you end up with just under 400 liters, so not too much. Length it's at 77 centimeters, or yeah, just about 30 inches, not too much. The overall height, like the total height, is about just over 60 centimeters or 24 inches, and the width, that's actually a good measure, is a good meter or 40 inches. And you see here the cabin trolley in the vertical way. That's already a problem, at least with that happened. That's live on Autogefühl. Let's try that again. The car was cheating together with the cabin trolley. They were working together. Really? Well, that way it does work. And total length 115 meters or about 60 inches. Under the hood there's a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 300 horsepower. 4.9 seconds is the acceleration figure, and all-wheel drive front plus rear on demand. And weren't there also times where they properly painted the hoods from the inside? Guess these times are over. Coast cuttings. T-Roc R facelift, 300 horsepower, putting it here into the race mode, and German Autobahn with acceleration from 50 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 150. 200 it is, 125 miles an hour. And this goes maximum 250, 155 miles an hour. And let's see if we can score that here. 230. Yeah, it will be too short, but that was already impressive. Wow. Of course, now it's actually quite loud, but still well to control in the race mode. The suspension, the DC seat, dynamic chassis control also is a little bit stiffer. And this has that's normal T-Roc. This has superb handling here. Doesn't even feel like 200 kilometers an hour, although we're not in the sportiest car over from the building form here. Very well to control on the brakes, and this again confirms the handling of this vehicle. It has such a good handling, is so balanced. In the sporty driving fun, it doesn't even feel like an SUV. Soon we're also going to some winding corners and show you even more about the agile handling in tight corners. Wow, here also very good job on the motorway, and sport seats keeping me tight. Fabric surface here, not sliding too much. Also breathable here. Sunny day, I'm not sweating. This is a great job, and also nice feedback there from that Akrapovic exhaust, which is a nice option definitely for this one. Let's turn down the window. We're in the tunnel, still in that race mode. Let's see. Oh, there's a the Dodge Challenger next to us. Let's see if he's going to react here. Race against the T-Roc R. That's a sinister look, man. You can't see it yet here, right? But you'll soon see it. Yeah, I mean, this vehicle... There we go. Yeah, here we go. He was responding now, and yeah, of course, static sound from that way higher displacement engine is, of course, outscoring in the T-Roc, although we have the beautiful Akrapovic exhaust mounted in the back. Well, but this car is supposed to do both. Still here in that sport mode, the suspension is rideable. However, if you compare it to a normal T-Roc, also we have here the bigger wheels, the optional 19-inch mounted. You do feel the potholes then, you know, and normal T-Roc is more suitable for everyday driving life if you seek more comfort. But this one here still is a very good everyday driver. And you can also go back then to normal mode, for example, and then the suspension gets a little bit, you know, more forgiving if you have that optional DCC, dynamic chassis control. Wow. Yeah, steering feels also good and very... How's everything going right? Just to leave me the space on the left lane. Thank you, guys. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So, yeah, you're waiting for the next traffic light to jump green. Even here in normal mode, you have some feedback from the exhaust. Good drive forward here, 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn of steering. That's how I love it. Progressive styling, and once again, it doesn't shake up at all. They found a very nice setup here, and we know that our friend Benny Leuchter, professional racing driver, he did set up this vehicle here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Yeah, if you told it like a couple of years ago that Volkswagen would set up a compact SUV on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, was they like, really? Yeah, but they actually did that, and you can feel that. The drive is indeed amazing here already on the motorway. Assistance systems, you set it here with the left thumb. Plus minus is 10 kilometer steps. Resume and set is 1 kilometer step. So that's actually better here now than we know, for example, from the VW Golf, where they have 1 and 10 kilometer steps on plus and minus, and you have to push it way more through. However, still hashtag capacitive BS buttons. They look fancy here in the tunnel because they're backlit, you know, that looks cool, yes. But they're harder to use while driving. The same goes for the Climatronic, which is standard here. For a capacitive BS solution, it's quite okay. Still, the manual dials would have just been easier to control. Yeah, and then you have the shifting pedals. There you can shift down yourself. And also the R button, blue illuminated. When you press it through, you just shift through the different driving modes one by one. And if you press and hold it, then it hops direct to the race mode. But you know, when you introduce capacitive buttons and then make them kind of like two-step, even more complicated. Now we shift down ourselves, and then we can even have spontaneous acceleration. This was 80 to 170, beautiful indeed. Yeah, and these shifting pedals are really large. You can easily reach them here in the corner. I have so much feedback from that suspension that is actually good. It's fun. It's not too bumpy, although it gives a sporty feedback, and I'm really astonished how well this vehicle can do both, being a good motorway vehicle and also this performance car. That is a great thing to have. A Golf, of course, sits lower, feels sportier for that. But this one here indeed is some compromise. You say, hey, I want something for everyday driving, like which still offers comfort, has somewhat higher seating position, but gives me that goosebumps when I put it in the corners or on the motorway. That is possible. And these sport seats here are also really well built. Again, a good compromise, shoulder support, at the same time more comfortable than the normal seats. That is really cool. By the way, in the assistance systems you also have that travel assist here now, which is keeping you in the lane. So it works quite smoothly, so you are being kept in the lane here. Some steering, but again, not like hectic reactions from that steering wheel. So that's overall working very well. And there's also a blind spot monitor if you are at some point overtaken in this vehicle. Right, one more time. Race mode, now winding corners. Let's see about that agility. Again, nice input steering wheel. Downshift, of course, that comes a little bit sudden. If you want it a little bit smoother, then you do it yourself. Here with the shifting belts, now third gear, now I shift back myself in second gear. Now it's smoother racing transition and I can get around here, and yeah, that's cool. We have not a rear wheel bias, and there's also no torque splitter here like in the new Golf 8R or in the Arteon R or in the new Tiguan R. This one does not get the rear torque split. However, since a lot of power is sent to the rear wheels, it still feels really nice, really balanced. Again, no oversteer or something, but it really behaves very well here in these winding corners. Yeah, it's really a very, very fun car. With that facelift here, with more hashtag capacitive BS, it's not that I would say you have to go for the facelift. I would easily pick one from the used car market, go for the pre-facelift for more real buttons. The engine is not really changed. Some stylings, but that rather counts for the... Yeah. Oh, have you heard it plops? Clock, clock, from that Akrapovic exhaust, really beautiful. So easily check the used car market for a pre-facelift version. Delivery times are long at this moment anyway. And I think the pre-facelift from the user interface was better. However, if you can get maybe a good lease at some point, this facelift will also do fine, not too big of a difference than driving wise. And of course you can always go for the smaller infotainment screen, which still has these buttons here for the volume and also for the zoom in and zoom out. That also makes it somewhat more analog and somewhat more like the pre-facelift. Here one more time now. Really tight corners downhill, also shifting down, good steering control. Now you feel also that the suspension can be rough at times when the road is rough, but then, yeah, having a lot of fun. So this is one of the very good examples for a very balanced vehicle which can combine a lot of different aspects. If you want to see more of the T-Roc, you might be excited about the R version, but rather just spend money on the R-Line, not so much money. Is Ascot grey rather grey or white? Well, compared to my trousers. If you want to see more about the VW T-Roc facelift, tune in now, let's go. This is Thomas with Autogefühl. Please subscribe if you haven't done so far. And the VW T-Roc, one of the most popular VW models, will it stay that way with this facelift? Well, here is sportier front, this honeycomb style front grille. This is also the sportier R-Line, and that also gets the daytime running light, the secondary daytime running light, so to speak, here in the lower part in a vertical way, whereas the style model, for example, would it feature here in this circle around. Then LED is now standard, optional, the so-called IQ light, that's the matrix LED. And turning indicators in the front look like this. The length at 4.25 meters or 167 inches, so it has grown just a little bit because of the different spoilers in the front and the rear. Wheels from 16 to 19 inch, these here are 17-inch wheels, so this is kind of more a comfortable pick actually. You can of course go more for a visual pick as well. Here the R-Line comes with that badge right here, and we also have this black package here with the black side mirrors and also a contrasting black roof. Yeah, I mean overall a quite likable and sporty styling, crossover style, Golf platform, not too high, not too low. Option you can get the DCC, the adaptive suspension. We also have it equipped here today. Yes, the famous locks in the background are back. Long-term subscribers will know what I'm talking about. Here you can see the T-Roc facelift gets new tail lamps here, new signature. And if you have the optional matrix LED, then you also have a cascading turning indicator in the rear. Other than that, clean styling in the rear, this typical hatch style. However, Autogefühl fake exhaust police is right here for you, because these have been identified clearly as fake exhaust and need to be punished. The T-Roc still gets the classic Volkswagen key, and I think it's better than the new high glossy black one. Door closing sound. We have heard that better. Main criticism for the interior here. hard pack at the inside of the doors. Actually quite some interior changes. Let's begin with the steering wheel. At the moment these #capacitive BS buttons are not backlit. They soon will be. I'll show you how the difference is. The cool thing is the R-Line has the perforation at the sides. That's actually quite decent. But when you pick with the style trim level, you can still get normal buttons at the steering wheel. Seats here, over the more elaborated one, here with Alcantara or microfiber in the middle part. And you can also get the top sport seats for the R-Line. Then you would have integrated head restraint like in the T-Roc R. So the R-Line moves more towards the R, at least if you pick some options then. It's not the biggest SUV, however, with this crossover style, you already have more comfort than in a normal compact hatch. And the seats are really very good, have some side support, also plush surface here. You can put that lower area a little bit longer. So really happy with the seats and also the overall seating position here, steering wheel in and out with a actually quite huge span here. Now the ignition is turned on and these buttons here are backlit at the steering wheel. That looks really fancy, but to control it is harder than before. General overview here for the interior. You can see once again that perspective of the steering wheel, styling wise pretty cool, and also how you control it, actually quite cool. Then here also new screen updates, a lot of high gloss black piano lacquer when it's cleaned. It looks cool, but scratches, fingerprints, and so on and so on. And here the optional Climatronic with the capacitive BS control. It looks again cool, and for a capacitive control it is quite okay, but you can also stick with the base one. If you do not pick this option, then you have still some knobs to turn actually. In the lower part, 2 USB-C chargers and also inductive charging pad for your phone. And this DSG shifting lever has also like this backlit gear view, so that looks quite fancy as well. And here also when you have the overdrive, you have a gear mode selector for off-road modes. A standard T-Roc would start 6.5 inch, then with dial or R-Line you get 8-inch screen, and optional this one 9.2 inch. The 8-inch has still a knob right here and here, this one completely buttonless, so that's a disadvantage. I think the only advantage that this one has is that you can show the map here and in the digital instrument at the same time then, because more processing power. The map itself is not that responsive. It's not the worst one. It's not a really good one. You can use it. The software updates have also made it a little bit faster, but still not really responsive. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is available with wireless connection, and the cool thing is here Beats sound system is inbuilt in this vehicle and also has a subwoofer in the back, and it actually gives you quite decent sound. If you figure out the volume either here or at the capacitive buttons at the steering wheel. Oh, well, I need to show you here the rear view camera. The resolution for today's vehicle, I think that should be better. Digital instruments are clear to read, quite nice. Here in 10.25 inch, otherwise it would start at the base 8-inch ones, so these are then a little bit smaller ones. And you can have different views, for example also this map view, you can also have it full screen. It does not flicker on the real eyes, just on camera here by the way, but it's really hard to adjust that so it's a decent image but still doesn't flicker. It's sometimes not really possible. And here my favorite view would be rather this one, with the classic gauges. So yeah, whatever you like, but I prefer rather this. When cup holders are not adaptive, well, it fits more for my basement garage beeper, but when you don't have adjustable things here, or like it's something that holds it tight, sometimes the bottles fly all over the place. Then armrest cover, it's actually quite firm, but looks quite cool with a leatherette surface. And some more space, for example, also for my leatherette purse here underneath. Well, the T-Roc is not that long, and headroom-wise, it does fit with tall adults in the rear. One is 86 or 6'1". However, here knee room-wise, when I'm driving, doesn't really work. The seats themselves are actually very comfortable. You have a good upright seating position here in the rear. It's just that when you have tall, then it gets kinda close indeed. Yeah, and towards the middle part here with the huge middle tunnel, even closer now to USB-C chargers you have there. The trunk 445 liters maximum. However, if you have all-wheel drive and also the subwoofer from a Beats sound system, it's a little bit less. Here, however, still usable, 78 centimeters in length or 30 inches, and in width it's a meter or 40 inches. However, here the cabin trolley does not fit in the vertical way, then it wouldn't close, and you can see that underneath then here in this case there's just the subwoofer. But yeah, for the sound system, it's of course pretty cool. And you have a 2/3, 1/3 split, but also a ski hatch. And then you have a little bit less than 1.50 meters or 57 inches in length. Engines next to the 2-liter TDI. On the petrol side, you have a 1-liter 3-cylinder, a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder, or today here the 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine, a turbo, and also then with all-wheel drive, 190 horsepower, front plus rear. However, then on demand this all-wheel drive system. And then you can also get the 300 horsepower strong T-Roc R. You can also check a video out of this when we have it on our channel. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with VW T-Roc facelift. Let's put it to sports mode because the German Autobahn test is to commence. Here with the 2-liter TSI, 190 horsepower and all-wheel drive, front plus rear on demand. Also put that bigger speed in here. So we start from about 40 kilometers an hour and let's go. And now it's struggling. Yeah, but we're already close to 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Oh, now it's getting like, wind noises here from the A-pillar. Yeah, windows really close, 200 kilometers an hour now. But really stable on the road, although it's, this crossover style. And only here now at 200 kilometers an hour wind noise have been picking up. Let's see when we drop. When is it stopping from the A-pillar? Let's see. Now at about 150, but feels really stable on the road. It's actually quite decent. Not the biggest wheels on there, 17-inch here today. And on the brakes, yeah, good and precise feeling indeed. So, of course, it doesn't feel as sporty as a Golf, which is a little bit lower. But here, I think a good compromise, between some more crossover SUV thing, higher seating position. It's actually quite decent and comfortable here in these Alcantara seats in the R-Line. Really like that. You can also get these top sport seats here, as I mentioned earlier. They are also really comfortable. So seating-wise, really good job. And the steering input is actually also pretty precise. Soon also I go a little bit sportier and winding country roads and so on. But here so far, actually quite decent on the motorway. We can also hit the cruise control here with capacitive BS buttons on the steering wheel. You get used to it a little bit, but it's not really very good. Here when you press resume, you have 1 kilometer steps up or down or set, and with plus and minus 10 kilometer steps up and down. Sometimes you miss it a little bit. Here now in the dark in the tunnel you can see the climate unit in the lower part is also illuminated, so for a capacitive solution there it's actually quite decent, but I also told you earlier that you can also stick with base climate units when you do not pick this optional Climatronic actually. Overall it gives you a very balanced feeling, this vehicle, and it is very easy to control. It is one of the vehicles you just start in the morning, get inside, don't care about much else and just start driving. And it is this compromise that it's still small enough. See the blind spot monitor here as well in the side mirror. It's still small enough actually for the city, but it's already big enough that you can also take a longer Autobahn turn with this one here. So, and that's also making it so popular. As I said, it is one of the most popular VW vehicles now, meanwhile, overall. Now I'm getting off the motorway here, also a little bit faster in the corner. Let's see, getting precise from the steering. The suspension is not that soft nor hard. It's actually also a good compromise. And if you have that DCC, which we have here in the sport mode, it's a little bit stiffer then. But the adaptive suspension also then adapts in this area, and that's a good thing because you can imagine it like this. So you start from the softest mode and then to the sportiest mode, but it's not like this, either soft or sporty. It's always the span, where it moves depending on the road condition, and then you just move the whole span of it and not the individual setting. I hope you got what I meant by that. And that's actually the advantage then here of the adaptive suspension, so I can indeed recommend to pick this one. Pretty dark in the face now, right? Here we go. Yeah, with the sun, a little bit tricky today, right? So now, traffic light to green. The engine is actually also quite responsive. As for the overdrive, yeah, it is still a front wheel bias. With the overdrive here, of course, you have a little bit less of front wheel bias than in this vehicle. So it is definitely more fun to drive it with the overdrive. We've also a T-Roc R episode, of course, there it, is even more stressed. However, it's not the most efficient engine. That would be rather the 1.5 petrol engine. Here the 2-liter TSI has more power, good punch here also on the motorway. However, then, yeah, as for fuel economy, also here with the overdrive, something between 7 and 8 liters on 100 kilometers. That is more like 30 mpg US and 35 plus mpg UK. There's of course something better available as for the fuel economy. Alright, what about some agile driving? In the sports mode, by the way, also the S shifting mode is activated. That means the gears are turned up higher, later shifting up, earlier shifting down. You're coming quite well out of the corners. Of course, you feel that front wheel bias, yes, but the rear wheels are also helping then the more you apply the throttle. Also take a look at the steering wheel. I don't have to turn it that much. Quite progressive actually, and once again, very nice accelerating out. It's also not that we have massive understeer or something. Yeah, it's really very well balanced, this vehicle. This is of course this original Golf platform, and yeah, it's a very good one, So the balanced handling of this vehicle is probably the coolest thing in driving. It hasn't changed with this facelift at all, and this is also one of the things why it's still so popular. At any time, by the way, you can go back here to the D-shifting mode, either here with the big shifting lever. When you're here in the manual shifting mode and shift yourself, you press and hold, then you're coming back to either the S mode or the D mode, depending on which you have put in at this moment. So once again, very good result here. As for the driving, here also when you do some slalom, stays really upright, and always depends, of course. Usually you would drive in the normal or the comfort mode, just to have a little bit more comfort from this adaptive suspension, and the sport mode then only when you do things like these, for example. If you want to see more about the trim levels, we also have a static episode here of the T-Roc, which was quite popular. You can see even more things in there. Well, and of course, if you think about maybe a little bit smaller one, the VW Taigo. This is a driving review of VW's latest small SUV, the VW Taigo. What is it and what can it do? Let's find out. Let's go. Thomas here with Autogefühl, and the VW Taigo is actually a sister model of the VW Nivus that is already being sold in South America. They differ a little bit in some aspects, but they also have some same parts, of course. Here in the front you can see a modern design, honeycomb style in this style trim level car, because this trim level is called style. There's also an R-Line available with a little sporty look. We had that in our studio episode in red. This color here today is called visual green. It is visual for sure. Headlamps come standard with LED, optional the IQ light, so matrix LED is even available here for this very segment. And depending on which trim you pick, it starts below 20,000 euros in Germany. If you go, higher trim, all the options and so on, biggest engine and so on, then you can land up something below 30,000 euros. So indeed, this is rather a car from the lineup which is more affordable. The length is at 4 meters 27 or 168 inches, so that means 17 centimeters or 7 inches longer than the VW T-Cross. It's also a small SUV. And as for the seating position, this one here sits between Polo and T-Cross. So it's Polo, Taigo, T-Cross, as how high you go. So is it more crossover? Is it already an SUV? I'll leave that up to you. I would rather say crossover, right? Here also with crossover wheel arches, 17 to 19 inch wheels. These here are the biggest 19 inch wheels, and style trim level, but you can also get here this black contrast here, for example, and also then the roof in black, and really some fresh, interesting colors. This color indeed is interesting. As for show off, it's nice. For everyday driving, maybe something else. And here you have this rather falling roofline, giving it more kind of like a already SUV coupe shape. MQB A0 is the platform, Again, that means sharing it with the Polo and the T-Cross both, and also with the Skoda and Seat siblings in this very segment. Here, modern light strip all the way across the vehicle, very beautiful and elegant design, and more crossover look in the lower part. And yeah, glad to find no fake exhaust here, but on the R-Line model, there the Autogefühl fake exhaust police had a major job. This is the car key, one of the classic ones, and yeah, good to have that one. Door closing sound. Okay, heard it better, but also heard it worse. Here at the inside of the doors, this is sadly hardback, and then, wow, this fitting to the exterior color, that interior. It's a really great idea. It's not my favorite color, but it's a great idea to have the fitting interior to the exterior. However, you can also go for a more subtle interior style. And I think these seats look really great. And again, if you want it more subtle, more on the black style, it's also available for the style tuner. You can go for 3 different color options for the seats. The seats themselves, they already look comfortable, and I think a beautiful job they've done here with the fabric and also with the bright leather red. Steering wheel looks modern and fresh, and at the same time you still have the hard buttons here, left side for the cruise control and right side then to control the digital instruments. Good they kept it with that. It's a small vehicle, but already offers you a very decent seating comfort. So that's the one thing I appreciate almost most. So especially here in these seats, the base seats are a little bit, less sophisticated, but they here are actually a little bit better already, and they've got side bolstering, and you feel like you would be in a bigger vehicle. And considering my size, 1m86, 6'1", still enough headroom left. And once again, for such a size, rather small vehicle, great seating comfort. Interior overview with a simple layout. Steering wheel, by the way, up, down, in, out, easy process. Left side, you get 2 sizes of digital instruments. That's a little bit confusing actually. So it starts here with 8-inch and then optional 10.25-inch. And on the right side, 6.5, 8-inch, and then here the 9.2-inch, the biggest one. This one does not have any buttons left. The 8-inch one would have the volume knob and the zoom in, zoom out knob, so I would rather stick with the 8-inch one then. Once again, here this green decal element, you can also get it in the more subtle style that's possible. Infotainment system, this is the Apple CarPlay integration. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay both, also wireless connection is possible. And also for the smaller screen, you can also get CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, by the way. Here, 300-watt Beats sound system is, really nice. So I think really good performance here for a sound system in a small vehicle. Then this is the main menu. Gladly, it's not the system you get in the VW Golf or in the ID3. This is a different one. It's a better one. It's not the best one. You see here, the map could also be more responsive, but overall, the overview of the whole menu structure and so on is more what you are used to from Volkswagen vehicles, and therefore it's definitely easier and simpler. When you have the 9.2 CPU, by the way, from this biggest touchscreen, oh, by the way, you can see here, the right one does not flicker on camera, the left one does, but on the human eye, nothing flickers. So here, you can have the map both in the right and in the left side simultaneously. Not possible if you have the 8-inch screen on the right. Here we are with the digital instruments. This is the map view, but you can also have it full screen, that's possible, or then rather, the classic views and also have other contents in the middle. In the lower part here, this climate unit is with the sliders. This is a Climatronic. It's an option. You do not have to go for it. It looks fancy for a capacitive BS unit. Hashtag capacitive BS. It's quite okay, but stick with the base function, then you still have the real dials, so they are a more clever choice. 2 USB-C chargers in low part, also inductive charging pad, by the way. And then we have this massive shifting lever here for the DSG, standard here for the 1.5 engine, but it's actually good. You have a very good feedback, and it looks actually also quite modern, and why not having something you can really touch? And then your 2 cup holders, they are not adaptive though. And then the armrest, very well attached, nice leather red cover, and underneath some more space. As for rear seating, well, they are using all the space they have, and when I would go a little bit more forward with the seats, I could also sit here, but yeah, when you have tall adults in the front, it gets close here. The back part of the seat is soft, however, but again, from the length there, it's just close because it's a small segment. Headroom wise, however, is actually good. So they are using the space they have. It's just that the length does limit it at some point. 2 USB-C chargers here in the rear, by the way. In the middle part with the middle tunnel, you can hardly sit there. But what's really cool is that they also have the same seat setup here. So very high class as for the materials they use here for the whole fabrics and leatherette and so on. Now to the trunk area, which houses 438 liters. You can see here, really square dimensions, easily fits the cabin trolley in also here in the vertical way. Just as a proof, here, no problem at all. So that's really good. For most of the recent VW reviews, I've been hating about the infotainment system, and I would still do that. But here I can just praise again how practical this car is. 1 meter or 40 inches in width. Then here, the length, about 82 centimeters or 32 inches. And then here the height to the cover is 40 centimeters or 16 inches. And here, this is a really practical solution here. When you put this one here up, it holds tight like this. This is the replacement tire underneath. And they really have used this space very, very well. You can also fold the seats, and then you have even more space. And like this, and like this. Well, once again, price, performance, and also the space you get, really very good. And the length to the seat as I'm driving, 1 meter 55 in total, or 61 inches. As for engines, we have the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol with 150 horsepower, always connected to the 7-speed DSG dual clutch transmission. Cheaper entry versions work with the 1 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 95 horsepower or 110 horsepower. The latter one then again optional with the DSG. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the VW Taigo 1.5 TSI. Let's put to that sports mode, see how this 150 horsepower can bring us on that German motorway from 45 kilometers an hour. Let's go. ...150 kilometers an hour. Yeah, I think that's shabby enough for this one. Racing with the Taigo. Yay! Well, not too bad at acceleration. Of course, wind noise picking up right now, but considering for this segment, it's also not too bad. Here, also quite stable on the road. So this is suspension here is not adaptive in this segment here, not available. But still, good compromise. It feels very nice and agile on the road. Steering is crisp and agile and also has no dead zone area or something. And let's put to a normal autobahn speed. Let's say like 120 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour. Here also wind noise are somewhat okay. Of course you have to consider the price and the segment. And it's really not an expensive vehicle. That's the good thing for that. And for that, even here the performance at high speed, it's really, really good. So that's one first nice aspect definitely about it. Also very good at how we can tune the brakes. Once again going left and right. Very likable steering, and also with this new modern steering layout, that's good. And we still have the real hard buttons. That's also a good thing to have. For example, when I set the cruise control right here, I can set it here in the 1 kilometer steps or here in 10 kilometer steps with plus and minus. So easy to control. That's what we know actually still from Volkswagen. Yeah, the climate unit, you don't have to go for the climatronic option as I told you in the interior parts, so stick with the base manual dials and then you'll also be fine off with that. Well, interior wise, not too much as for ambient lighting, a little bit here and here, but again, considering the segment, and also here for example, so a subtle note, I think that's overall good. And here with the digital instruments, this top setup here, I also have a good visualization and see what I'm actually doing here at the moment and now at 80 kilometers an hour. So motorway vehicle, although it's a rather small vehicle, good comfort also to this upper seating position, and also very good as for the overall seat ergonomics. So indeed, much you get here for not too much money, and also it's not much of a car, but you still get much of a car for it. Do you know what I mean? So that's from the motorway perspective. But what about the more agile driving performance? Let's find out more about that. Last comment here, assistance system, we also have a blind spot monitor. Well, we were too fast, no one overtook us yet, but it will be displayed here in the side mirror. So assistance systems wise, everything is working flawlessly as well. There it is, because the other car was approaching. Yes, still managed to show that. Now to some more agile driving. Fuel economy, by the way, something between 6 and 7 liters on 100 kilometers. So that's US MPG, some high 30s, and UK MPG more than 40, so 45 or something. Okay, acceptable, not too good, also not too bad, but for a vehicle of that size, it should be a little bit better. Now we have here windy roads, and they are also a little bit wet. You can see here, steering wheel actually still a good feeling. It's front-wheel drive only, so maybe also heard that here in the sport mode, where the RPMs are also a little bit pumped up, so when it's wet and you hammer the throttle, then you also have some traction loss in the front. But it's not that the car would get out of control or something. The ESC is controlling that very well. See here also in the S shifting mode, where the gears are turned up later, shifted down earlier. Very smooth, very nice. Here I had to correct a little bit due to that wheel spin, but not too much. So overall a very likable and agile driving feeling. This is a very cool thing. You sit rather upright in comparison to a normal small vehicle here in this crossover style, or already SUV style, however you want to call it. Again, sitting between Polo and T-Cross height-wise, but already a lot of fun. So yes, also driving-wise, we can prove the initial point that this is one of the rare cars here on the market still, where you get actually a lot what you've paid for. This is also driving-wise one of the very, very cool things. Now if you want to compare the VW T-Cross.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Autogefühl. Today with me AJ and Michelle. I know it's barely spring, but I got a little bit ahead of myself and I'm in the sunny, beautiful Mediterranean island of Mallorca. This weekend, I have the keys to the all-new Volkswagen T-Cross. Well, they say big things come in small packages, and it is a pretty compact package, but does it have big potentials? Well, we'll find out on today's episode. Are you ready? Come on, let's go! So it is on the MQB A0 platform, so it's a platform sibling with the Polo, not the Golf. That will be the T-Roc. So this shares its platform with the Polo, the Ibiza, the A1, and of course, more like this kind of a body style, the Seat Arona. It looks like an SUV. So it's got a very flat, vertical front grille, kind of like an amalgamation of some of the different elements that are used throughout the Volkswagen SUV range. Like for example, the front grille I think is very Tiguan-like, but down here, as you guys can see, there's kind of like this V or like an X, if you go both ways, which is kind of similar to the T-Roc. So in that way, it is a bit of an amalgamation of different SUV design lines. You have different trims. Over here we have the R-Line, so you can see a badge over there. Furthermore, this kind of element that flanks in the bottom of the bumper is in the body color, whereas in the other design line, it would be in chrome. The logo is two-dimensional. There's parking sensors down here, a dash of chrome at the bottom to kind of give it a little bit more of a flashy look. And overall, it does look like a baby SUV. As standard, the T-Cross comes with halogen lamps and the daytime running light will be down here. But if you get the optional LED, the full LED headlamps like we have here, then of course the main lamps are LED and the daytime running light is kind of like this C-shape or L-shaped strip along the bottom of the main cluster, and that would be just a fog lamp housing. This car is 4.11 meters long, which means, yes, it is longer than the Polo, but of course, shorter than the T-Roc. Also, it has been raised by 4 centimeters, which means there is a little bit more ground clearance than the Polo. Although it's still only a front-wheel drive, it can handle a little bit more of rough roading, as you guys can see here. The wheels, by the way, start at 16 inches as standard, but you can optionally get them up to 18 inches like the one we have here. Really sporty with a dual tone finish, goes well with this R-Line. If you've seen our videos of the T-Cross earlier at the world premiere and in the studio, you will know that you can also get the wheels with the body color. That might not be to everybody's taste, but it certainly makes the car pop. Again, like we were discussing, they've gone for a very traditional SUV style body shape for the T-Cross. Unlike even the T-Roc, which I think is a little bit more sleek, a little bit of a crossover car SUV kind of a design, but here it's boxy. Of course, the quintessential blacked off wheel arches, although they are not squared off, they are still very circular. The R-Line badge over here, tall doors, very vertical, boxy again. Some subtle design lines over here along the door to give that little bit of a play between light and shadow. The bottom of the doors are also flanked by these interesting contours, which I think add a little bit more of the athletic flavor to this car. And overall, it is a pretty compact shape, but it does feel very roomy on the inside. At the back, at the top, we have a glossy black spoiler of sorts. Again, with the R-Line to kind of evoke a little bit more sporty character to the car. The rear window is actually not that large. It does seem fairly narrow, but at least it's quite wide. Down here, yeah, this is a bit of a new, fresh design that perhaps is a little bit new for Volkswagen. They don't usually do such large kind of light on the bumper, on the hatch rather, but in fact these are just reflectors. This is not an actual light, but it still is quite bold. Might not be to everybody's taste, but I like it. I think it's fresh. It kind of also makes the car seem a little bit more youthful. C-shaped rear lights somehow also remind me of the Volkswagen Up. So I see a little bit of that character in this car. Going further down, reversing camera, T-Cross over here. A very clean bumper design, no real exhaust tips, and of course also no fake exhaust tips, which I think is a great way of doing it. So very neat, and the actual exhaust is further down, hidden away. Let's take a look inside the trunk. This is 385 liters, which is not that much. I think the Arona is a little bit better in terms of the volume, but it is a very usable area. It is very square and it is very easy to load things. Not much of a lip here. You just have to get it up to this height. Of course, a very large well down here. Of course, for the European market, you can just get the emergency kit. But for other markets around the world, especially South America, it is very important for those customers to have a spare tire. So that's where this would be going in. It's very easy to get rid of this parcel shelf like such. Just a couple pops this way and that way, and it comes out. I'm just going to put it away right here for the minute because I want to show you, of course, you can split the seats in a 60-40 fashion, but you can also slide the back bench, and I'll show you once I get inside. You can already see it's a very flat loading bay, but there's another party trick that the T-Cross has, and that's up here, because what you can do is tumble the front seat down, and this also does lay fairly flat, and this way you really do have a very large or very long loading area for you to carry some, maybe planks of wood for your cupboard from IKEA. So it might be small, but it is certainly trying to be as practical as possible. So let's take a look inside the car, but first, here's the key fob. Nothing new here, nothing fancy to talk about. So by the way, this color is called the Reef Blue. So kind of like Thomas Blue. Let's take a look inside. So the door is fairly upright and fairly tall. opens really wide, gives you good access. Of course, now this being 4 centimeters higher off the ground and the seating position also being taller, it is very easy to get in and out of. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself again. Materials on the door around here are very monotone, very hard. And there is some nice textured pattern inlay, which kind of breaks that monotony. More colors here, but all are hard plastic, except for the part that really matters, which is here where you put your elbow. So I can totally live with that. This is a small budget car. It is the smallest and the cheapest SUV that Volkswagen make at the moment. Getting inside, again, super easy. This is actually about 6 centimeters higher in terms of the seating position overall than the Polo. That's because of the 4 centimeters higher ground clearance, and just overall the stance is a little bit higher. I always enjoy driving with the seating position in the lowest setting, but I must say, and I'll talk more about this later on, the dashboard does feel a bit tall, and maybe you want to give up a couple pumps to sit a little bit taller. But apart from that, a very wide dashboard, kind of a unison theme going on with that textured element that we saw on the door, continuing through here, all the way across and wrapping around to the other door. So let's hop inside and take a closer look. The steering wheel actually has a little bit of a different design. I quite like it. There's a lot more angles and contours in the center here, almost like a BMW. For some reason it reminds me of that, but it has its own identity, looks really nice. Perforated material where you would put your hand, so good grip. A flat bottom, R-Line logo, and a lot of controls for, working the instrument cluster and the infotainment system. So this comes with the optional virtual cockpit. Here you have one large screen which gives you a lot of information, for example your driving data, different assistance systems, which by the way there are plenty in this car, like lane assist with intervention, adaptive cruise control which monitors the distance with the car in front, blind spot monitoring, rear traffic alert, front assist, which is really great. By the way, the blind spot monitor and the front assist come as standard, which I think is a great initiative. Apart from that, you have the navigation. So actually you can have the map on the, there you go, you can see it now, you can have the map on the dashboard itself. You can even make it completely big with the speedometer just over there. You can even put it kind of like in between with this other view. But it's important to note, and I guess you guys might have already known about this, you cannot have the map on this dashboard, the virtual cockpit, as well as your infotainment system. You can either have it in one place or the other. It's an either or kind of a thing. So you can see this button here to hop between the maps in the two screens. But in this way, if you have the map here, if you put it over there, then whoever's sitting on the side can be the DJ. They can connect their phone with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So that makes it really easy to stream from your phone directly. You can connect with Bluetooth. Of course, you have USB drives where you can add your own, like you can just put a pen drive with a lot of music. You can store different images and so on. So it's very, very something that we're quite used to, very intuitive, works pretty well. And I also like the fact that while you have soft touch buttons on the edges of the screen, you also have knobs for the things like some other functions, especially in the navigation. You can use this to zoom in and out, so it does make life a little bit easier, and it's a good combination. Smooth interfaces could be a little bit better, of course, but can't complain too much. You get 6.5-inch touchscreen as standard. You can also get the optional 8-inch. Then you can also spec navigation and Apple connectivity, Android connectivity, and so on. Further down, let's continue our look. Air conditioning vents down here. So I think it's placed really well. There is some more hot buttons over here. Driving mode selector. So you have Eco, Normal, Sport, and Individual. As you can see, we'll take a look at this once we're driving. By the way, Michelle, while you have the camera pointed up, there's also a cubby hole over here, which also has a rubber mat, so you can drop your phone over there or something like that. Pretty interesting. So back down here, dual zone air conditioning with seat heaters, an inductive phone charging port, couple USB ports over there, 12-volt power socket, and engine start-stop. And of course, this car that we're driving comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. Our car also comes with the optional Beats audio system, which sounds really good. I always appreciate a good sound stereo system in a car. CD player, SD card slots for your navigation, a damped glove box, a tray underneath the passenger seat for some other items, couple bottle holders, although they're not adaptive, they don't have that spring-loaded clamp, but there's some bigger bottle holder cubby holes on the door. A large central armrest, or rather a deep cubby hole in the center armrest, so you can put some more items over there. The armrest itself can be extended and is a ratchet to increase the height if you would like it that way. So overall, it's a pretty comfortable place to be in. All right, let's take a look in the back seat. The door opens nice and wide, has a very squared opening, so it's easy to put your child seats. The ISOFIX points are also located right on the outside, so they're very easy to identify and very easy to attach to the seat. The seat belts are also can be kind of clamped away with this little clip, which I really like. So when you do tumble the seat forward like so, they don't come in the way. Nice little touch. The door, however, the materials on the inside are all completely hard, even the place where you put your elbow. But on the plus side, getting inside is really easy, thanks to it being a SUV with a higher seating position. The seat back is also at a really good angle. It's not reclining too far back. At the same time, it's not upright. I don't think that's always comfortable. It's nice. The bench itself is also pretty high. Again, the higher seating position. So I have really good under thigh support. Even though the seat is really low down, there's plenty of space for me to slide my feet under the front seat. I'm 5'8" or about 1.7 meters. This is set to my driving position. And as you can see, ample knee room, adequate headroom. So you can even watch Thomas's review. He fits in quite well inside this car. A cubby hole here doesn't seem to have any air conditioning vents, which I think is an omission, but in this segment, I think it's totally acceptable. Couple USB power sockets over here. You can see a top tether point for the front seat, passenger seat, which is nice. Also some pockets. But what's pretty interesting is you can slide the bench up by quite a bit actually. And in this way, yeah, I probably wouldn't be happy sitting like this, but the plus side is it liberates a lot more space on the trunk. Let's take a look under the hood. By the way, this power dome in the middle also looks pretty cool. So, what powers this little SUV? Well, you have a choice of petrol and diesel engines at the moment. First of all, you have the 1.0 liter TSI turbo petrol 3-cylinder engine, like the one we have here. This makes either 95 horsepower or 115 horsepower, which is the one we have. The 95 horsepower engine comes with a 5-speed manual, whereas the 115 horsepower engine comes with a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed DSG. There is also a 1.5 liter TSI 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, which makes 150 horsepower. That's 150 horsepower. Again, very familiar engines from the Volkswagen portfolio. That also comes with the 7-speed DSG only. In terms of diesel, currently there is only the 1.6 TDI, which makes 95 horsepower and comes coupled with the 5-speed manual or the 7-speed DSG. And they're all only front-wheel drive. Okay, we are in sunny Mallorca, starting off in Palma. And I know this beautiful location at the north of the island near some hills. And I want to go there. It's one of my favorite places. So, on the way, this will give us a great chance to test the new T-Cross out in the city, which, let's be honest, is perhaps its natural habitat, on the highway, through some winding country roads, and we can analyze it that way. I think I gotta go right, so let me get across. Again, already I can tell you, in the city, it's very easy to kind of put the car in narrow spaces, change lanes really quickly, fit it into narrow old European streets here in the heart of Palma near the beautiful cathedral. We were just driving around a little bit, no problem, no sweat. I mean, of course, you could probably fit larger cars in these roads, but the real thing, the real advantage of a small car is that you don't feel scared about it. Like, if you guys remember a few months ago, Michelle and I were also here driving the Porsche Macan. And that, first of all, is a Porsche, and it's a little bit bigger. And when we were driving through the inside of the old town, it was a little bit nerve-wracking to make sure that you don't hit the rims, you don't hit the, it's really tight, and you don't want to damage the car. Whereas with a T-Cross, it's really small. It kind of wraps itself around you. It's really nimble. So in the city, it's really great. However, I must say, the visibility could have been better. I mean, this is an SUV, so it has that tall stance. You are sitting, I think, about 6 centimeters higher than you would in a Polo, thanks to, of course, the extra ground clearance itself, point number one, but also because the seats are more higher and a little further up. The dashboard is also quite shallow, but the windscreen, the front windscreen, isn't that large. I think it could have, first of all, come up a little bit more towards your head, and also the dashboard could have been a little bit lower. I think right now it's a bit too high. In fact, this reminds me of the Volkswagen Up. I drove the Up GTI when I did the special GTI episode. You guys should check out that video. And even there, it kind of reminds me of that. Of course, the interior is very much like the Polo with the navigation screen, the dashboard here, the digital cockpit, so on and so forth. But this kind of a very tall, upright dashboard is a bit reminiscent of the Volkswagen Up. But anyway, there are plenty of assistance systems and sensors to help you get around. It also has the auto start stop. So in city driving, it will shut the engine off when you come to a light to save a little bit of fuel. Turning circle again is really, really nimble. And the steering wheel is also fairly light, so it's really easy to make quick corrections and maneuvering around in the city. The 6-speed manual gearbox that comes with this 1.0 TSI is also not that bad. It has a fairly long throw, so it might not be the most sporty, but the clutch is really light to use. The brake pedal is very progressive, so again in the city, it's a breeze to use. Being that 3-cylinder turbo, there's plenty of torque low down in the rev range, so when you want to kind of make jumps between gaps in the traffic in the city, that also really helps out. I do also wish, to kind of, in the same lines of visibility, I wish the cabin also had the sunroof, because then it would make the interior feel a little bit nicer and brighter, and a lot of black here inside the cabin, and this black roof liner kind of makes it feel a bit dark and a little bit more cramped. Lighter colors would be preferred for my taste, and also objectively, it is going to help you make the cabin feel a little bit bigger. So make sure you check out that option as well. Let's see how much mileage we're getting right now in the city. So we're getting about 8.7 liters, but earlier on, when we were just heading out of the airport, it was about 7.5. So let's wait till the end of the drive to see how it scores. Of course, it'll get much better. Now we're heading out of Palma and getting up into the north, where my favorite area of the island is. So let's test the T-Cross and its behavior out on the highway. We saw that in the city, it fits right in. It feels like a little mouse in the jungle. Very nimble, very agile. But does that mean on the highway it's not sure-footed? In one word, not really, no. It feels pretty good. And that's because, of course, it has the wider track that you get with the MQB A0 platform. It also has a pretty long wheelbase. It's in fact a little bit longer than the Polo as well. So it does have that, at least that minimum amount of size for it to feel confident. Because of the tall body, yes, you do feel a little bit more of the wind noise at times, or maybe I do feel that maybe this, it is more susceptible to being pushed around. Today the weather is quite fine, but I have a feeling, and I did feel that a little bit as well. But apart from that, it does feel really good and very composed. There's a lot of assistance systems to aid your highway cruising. For example, it has adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist. So there's a button here which I can use to set that. I can set this distance I wanted to maintain with the car in front. I can turn it on, and then I press the set button, and now it's set to 100 kilometers per hour. There's a distance that I've set to maintain with the car in front, which will be safe distance. And it also has steering intervention. So, yes, even the T-Cross is level 2 semi-autonomous, which means that when it comes up to a corner, it will turn for you. And I will demonstrate that in a minute. So here we are, we're coming around a very gentle left-hand bend. I'm going to still keep my hands near the wheel because there is traffic around me and it is not completely autonomous, but it does steer you in place a little bit. You can see now we're going around this left-hand bend and the steering wheel is automatically turning. So, and of course it notices that the car in front has also pulled away, so now it is accelerating and continuing to keep me in line and also giving me a warning to take over the steering. So it doesn't work for an extended period of time, a few minutes here and there, which only is used, should be used as an assistance and not a replacement for a driver. We're not there yet. And it's interesting to note that this car also has things like, of course, the front assist, which will monitor the distance with cars in front and automatically hit the brakes in case of an emergency, and also has blind spot monitoring. And these two are actually standard. And I think that's a great initiative that Volkswagen has taken. Blind spot monitoring is perhaps something that's usually seen as an option by most manufacturers, even within Volkswagen in the past. But now, I think it's a good initiative that they say, you know what, just take it for free. It's there because it's something that's very useful when you're pulling out across the lanes and on the highway, so that's great. But of course you can get the other assistance systems as options, the adaptive cruise control and rear view cameras, so on and so forth. Apart from that, let's see. The steering wheel now, I am in normal mode, so I think this is a great balanced driving profile. It gives you good responses, it gives you good steering weight, and it gives you good throttle response. So it does feel pretty comfortable on the highway. Now that I have the adaptive cruise control on, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm not accelerating, the car is doing it on its own. But even that is going to change depending on which profile you have it. So if you have it in eco mode, then of course, the car doesn't rev that high. The engine has a little bit more of a muted, dulled response so that it's not, revving too high and consuming more power. But even with the adaptive cruise control, if you have it in eco mode, and let's say the car in front pulls out, the way the car accelerates is also very gradual, again, to be more economical. Even the air conditioning profile is also more economical. So that way, these driving modes are very useful. I think it's nothing we're strangers to. We've seen these profiles and the way the software works across the VW range. And even in the lower part of the food chain, with the MQB A0, we've seen that, so it's good to see it being carried over, of course. And the steering does actually, now that the lane keep assist is on, feels a little bit extra heavy and a little bit, seems like it has a mind of its own, which is great in a way. Like right now I'm trying to push the car a little bit to the right, and it's really fighting me, the steering wheel. So it doesn't feel natural at all, but on the highway, in these kind of situations, it's pretty good. Let's just check the mileage that we're getting. I saw that we had a pretty large number when we were in the city, but already it's saying 7.2 liters for 100 kilometers, which is a good start. We've just been on the highway for about 30 kilometers, or less than that really. So by the time we reach the top of the island, it should be much better. We'll check in on that later on. The seating position and the seats are also fairly comfortable. Good visibility out the sides again. Visibility out the front on the highway is not such a big problem because you're not looking at all the minute little rocks or sidewalks and things like that. It's much more open when you're on the highway, so it's okay. But I do wish the windshield was a little bit bigger. Road noise is at a minimum. Tire noise is also very minimum. Wind noise is not a problem really, but it is something you should be aware of, that it is a more upright, boxy SUV So there is going to be a little bit more than, let's say, the Ibiza or the Polo. But overall, on the highway, this car feels also quite at home. So, it is a car with multiple personalities. There's one personality that I definitely want to test out, and that is its sporting personality. So, I can't wait to get up to the mountains, and I'll pick it up once we're there. This is that road that I was talking about. This is leading up to the mountains to a great lookout vista at the north of the island. So I have the car in sports mode. Here the throttle response is sharpened. Steering is also a little bit heavier. This 3-cylinder sounds really nice. This 1.0 TSI, 115 horsepower, something that I'm quite familiar with. I've driven this in several other MQB A0 cars, and also the Up GTI, where it is in a similar state of tune. A lot of bicyclists here, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful. But the truth is, with this engine, you need to really keep it over 3,000 RPM for it to really pick up pace. It does sound pretty cool. It's got that nice 3-cylinder burbling sound. You don't really hear too much of the turbo. Brakes pretty well. Dives into the corner. It does have a little bit of body roll, which I guess, cannot be avoided. Steering feels not that great, to be honest. It is a little bit softer, even with this sport mode. It is heavier, but that doesn't really make it much more, doesn't give me too much more feedback. It is not necessarily a fast rack either. Gear lever, as with MQB A0 VW cars, could be a little bit crisper, so it does feel a bit spongy. It is a little bit of a long throw. Actually, now that I'm putting it a little bit through its paces, the body roll is not that bad. It is a little bit more noticeable than, of course, the Polo or the Ibiza, but it's not something that really takes away from the fun. You have to get used to the steering rack being a little bit slower. The brakes are great, gives you really good control, very confidence-inspiring. Visibility is not too bad, actually. This windshield, I still wish it was bigger, but the A-pillar is not that obtrusive. It gives you a pretty good lookout when you're going into a left-hand corner. Also, thanks to that turbocharger, there's always torque, even at low down in the rev range. But of course, when you're driving like this, the mileage goes down. I was just seeing numbers around 6.1 liters for 100 kilometers now that I've finished that stint on the highway. But of course now, thanks to driving like this, it has become a little bit more. But I think overall, it's not something you'll feel guilty about. You won't feel guilty driving this car fast because it's not that gives you good mileage regardless. It's not such a it's not going to consume that much. It's a very small engine. It's turbocharged, and it's designed to be very frugal. So even when you are thrashing it, it's still not bad at all. Revs pretty nicely. It gives you a nice little buzz as it hits 6,000 RPM. Now I'm getting used to the steering. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to this rack. It could have been a little bit more progressive. It could have been a little bit sharper. I could have used a little bit more feedback. But one thing I'm quite okay with, I think, is the body roll. It is an SUV. It is tall, but it's not really terrible at all. And yes, when you want to have a little bit of fun, I think this car is fairly capable. Of course, this is only front-wheel drive, so I think that's also quite okay. I don't think it makes sense to have four-wheel drive on a car with such a short wheelbase and, something which is not necessarily ever going to go off-road, and even on-road kind of grip and controlling the yaw and things like that. I don't think it makes sense for a car of this size. Steering wheel is fairly large, as is with all Volkswagens. I do still prefer the Ibiza steering wheel with the MQB A0. It's a little bit smaller, already has a little bit of a faster steering rack, and of course it's much lower. It's even lower than the Polo, so certainly a much more engaging car to drive. But leave this in second gear and zip around the island. Why not? So overall, today we drove the T-Cross in the city, where I think it's right at home with its compact dimensions. And on the highway, though it's compact, it does feel very confidence-inspiring and very stable. And certainly, out on the twisty roads here in the mountains, it also comes into its own. It feels fun to drive, it feels engaging. But a couple things that I wish were a little bit better, which I think are some of my standard complaints with the MQB A0, is first of all, the gearbox. So I think Volkswagen can develop a little bit more of a crisp throw action. You know, something perhaps more on the lines of a Mazda 3. I think they have that kind of a throw and feel down to an art. I think it's, you know, that rifle bolt action that people keep talking about, where you feel the intricate, low tolerance metal pieces and components well oiled, slotting into place with each other. It just gives you that much more tactile, you know, kinesthetic joy, and I think that's lacking with most of these gearboxes that I've driven here, with the Polo, the Ibiza, and the T-Cross, and the Up as well. So that's one thing I wish. You know, this is a brand new car. Maybe they could have already addressed that, but I guess for the market that this is aimed towards, that's not something they really care about. So maybe I'm just nitpicking. And I think the windshield could have been a little bit larger, and the dashboard could also have been a little bit lower. And yes, you can still maintain a very high, tall seating position, but allowing the windscreen to be bigger would give you much more light in the cabin, which would make it seem bigger. I think that's something that they could have changed as well. Let's summarize today's episode of the all-new Volkswagen T-Cross. With prices starting just under 18,000 euros, it does command a little bit of a premium over the Polo. Nevertheless, it is still on average 2,500 euros cheaper than the T-Roc. And for that, you do get quite a lot of car. First of all, it is an SUV, so that means you have a higher ground clearance, which is always useful to tackle rougher roads. The upright seating position is also something that a lot of people really appreciate with SUVs. However, I do wish that the front windshield was a little bit bigger, and I would definitely recommend you pick a lighter color for the interior so that it feels a little bit more airy. In the city, it fits right in thanks to its compact dimensions, easy to maneuver, easy to park. But at the same time, on the highway, it is very composed, thanks in part to the assistance systems like the adaptive cruise control and the lane keeping assist. There's also a lot of technology and kit like the Beats audio system, the virtual cockpit, traffic sign recognition, and phone connectivity. On the twisty roads, I think it is also pretty good. Of course, there is a little bit of body roll, but I really recommend this 1-liter TSI with 115 horsepower because it's got good enough power at low range. That turbo also means a lot more torque higher on in the rev range as well. If you keep it above 3,000 RPM, that's the sweet spot really, and it does sound pretty fun. The 6-speed manual might not be the most enthusiastic for all of us, but it is doing the job pretty well. The throw could be a little bit better, but for the market, I think it does the job just right. Overall, it does seem that good things come in small packages, and the T-Cross is no exception.
This here is a full review of the Volkswagen Taos, this new SUV in the compact segment. And it is Volkswagen's recipe for the US to replace the Golf, because the Golf is only available as GTI and Golf R anymore in the US, and this compact SUV is supposed to fill the gap below the Tiguan. Let's take a closer look here with Thomas and Autogefühl. Let's go! What do you think about this front design here? I like it pretty much because it has a bold styling. It's really modern at the same time, also with the daytime running light integration. It's also available here with the IQ light by Volkswagen. That's their Matrix LED naming. And here in the lower part you can see the contrasting black and red. King's Red is the color for today, by the way. And this is a lot of plastic here, especially in the lower part, that might appear cheap at first. At the other side is the way that when you have some small damages, it can also be replaced easier and of course in a cheaper way. 4.46 meters or 176 inches is the length of the Taos, which is sold under the name Tharu in China, by the way. Also interesting. And size-wise, actually, it is kind of equal like the Tiguan in the EU and 9 inches shorter than the Tiguan in the US, which is sold under Tiguan Allspace in Europe. Also interesting, isn't it? And I think it has a very modern look here, also with the crossover wheel arches. and the Taos badge right here. Wheels start from 17-inch, 18 and then up to 19-inch here with a massive styling. We'll see also in the driving part if it still fits with the driving comfort then later on. And here you can see roof rails, and the lower part is in this chrome styling. So overall, I think, once again, a modern look, and even a little bit more modern than the Tiguan. We await, of course, a Tiguan facelift very soon. Stay subscribed here on Autogefühl if you want to see that soon. The Seat Ateca or the Skoda Karoq are also sister models in Europe, by the way. And here in the rear, if you have the IQ Light option, you also have a more sophisticated design for the rear lamps. This one equipped with 4Motion, that's their brand name for the all-wheel drive. And wait a minute. AFAP, alert, Autogefühl fake exhaust. Yeah, that's a true alert for that one. The Autogefühl fake exhaust police has to be active because these are, the purest form of fake exhaust. The real one is underneath. Yeah, but the styling here, once again, with the contrast, that is actually quite decent, isn't it? Khaki has a matte appearance. I really like that. This, of course, not stock. It's like for the test vehicle here. It's pretty cool because when you have high gloss black, you easier collect scratches and so on. And here, this is like like a budget system for a keyless entry, not like with in and out, but you press this button here. But yeah, I'm fine with that. That way you close the vehicle and open it also again. Why not? Then door closing sound. Not too good though, I have to say. Used to better door closing sounds from Volkswagen. Then the top part is already soft touch, has also nice structure. And here you can get a leatherette surface, and here once again too. So it's actually decently built. And here also how the resonance of the quality, like click, click. This is actually good and easy to control here, the side mirrors. This is a straightforward user interface still. Taos entry badge, and these are the seats which have, let's see here some accentuations, nice contrast stitching. So it's very good that you're being held tight. As for the material setup, this is animal skin in the SEL trim. However, you can also get cloth seats with some leatherette, they call it Cloudtex, some leatherette applications. For example, also in the SE trim. So the lower trims then offer the more comfortable seats, because here the animal skin surface is a little bit stiffer, therefore also a little bit less comfortable. But the seat ergonomics is excellent because, it's not a large SUV, but you have a very good seating position, even for tall people like me. Leaves a lot of headroom, and again, it's very good ergonomics in seating. And here, steering wheel in and out, up and down. You can very well find a good seating position. You don't need more SUV indeed. Interior overview, very clean and straightforward. Not the only generation of Volkswagen interiors, but I prefer this one here. This is the interior generation where the VW interiors were still really good. Why? I'm going to tell you right now. First of all, it's like this is leatherette application here, also with the contrast stitching. That is, more premium atmosphere. And here also not high gloss black, but more this gray. That's also a nicer touch. The infotainment, it starts with 6.5 or optional or in higher trims, it's 8-inch like here, but you still have a manual volume knob and a manual tune knob. For example, you can also, when you use the car internal GPS, then you can zoom in and out with that. But here, let's take a close look. This is like the different clock views. Actually quite interesting. So when you have the car internal GPS, let's see. There we go. Then you can use this one here as zooming in and out. This is of course a handy thing. It doesn't work with the Apple CarPlay though. And the menu is straightforward. It's easy and it's actually decently fast. And I don't want more from the infotainment system. It's just supposed to work. And most of the time, most of us, we just connect to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay anyway. And then we have this one here actually. And this is totally fine for me, and it is working. It does not have the software problems like all new Volkswagen generations, so I would prefer this indeed. And indeed, this is the Volkswagen interior generation we all loved. Real buttons for the steering wheel heating, for example, and also for the sound here, the volume on the left, for the cruise control. And VW is now realizing that this was better than the all-new solutions, and they will bring back the buttons. They have confirmed that. So our hashtag capacitive BS, this hashtag has helped for that. Well done, everyone here. Then the digital instruments. this is also very interesting. Well, you can also get the map from the central screen here in the middle part, or then go all the way like this. But this only works for the car internal map, and it's now there, but then it's not in the central part anymore. And as soon as I, switches back again, then it's disappearing here. So yeah, and most of the time you will use the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and that's it. Here, by the way, the MPG figure, that's one catch of this vehicle. It could be better. So for a small SUV, it's not that efficient. As for the view, I rather prefer this classic view where you have the round dials style. And then, for example, you have like a consumption overview in the middle. Manual climate dials here for temperature and also for the vent strength, and I can control them blindfolded basically while driving. That's what I want, what I need indeed. That's just awesome. Why temperature sliders when you can have this one? And also here seat heating and also seat cooling, and also so easy to control. Then in the front, 2 USB-C chargers, but also inductive charging. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is wireless and wired, possible, both you can. Then it's actually a quite attractive shifting lever. This is the drive mode then, or pull it backward for sports driving mode, for turning up the RPMs. It has a really good feeling to it. And then here, this is the drive mode selector, like for off-road mode. Has to do with the overdrive distribution and so on, or click it on the inside for the street driving modes, for example, for the sport mode. Then we have adaptive cup holders, like here, and it's also very well built as for the build quality, and they really hold bottles and so on really tight then. And here, the armrest, nice leatherette cover, and it's also very well attached. It doesn't wobble left and right. That's, for example, better than with Toyota. It doesn't wobble left and right that much. And on the inside, some more space. So it's even goes, yeah, it's actually enough, I would say. Rear seating, let's take a look right here. Inside of the doors is hard packed materials, but again, consider the pricing, which is rather low, then rather soft leatherette right here. Looks like quite some nice space. And what's interesting here, the ISOFIX cover for the child seats, you can just push them in like this, and then you can install them and later on push them back again. It's an interesting idea for sure. Let's take a look at the legroom. This seat is, as I would be driving, as a tall person, and you see it's good legroom offering indeed. So it's not a very long vehicle, but there's plenty of legroom left, and it's a very comfortable seating position here. And also here with 189 or 6'2", there's some headroom left. So very well usable. It's really making a lot of the exterior length, transporting it to the interior space. That's really cool. And it's really decent comfort. You cannot adjust here the back part. It's either folding flat or nothing. But the angle is fine, actually. I'm surprised how comfortable it is, actually. And in the middle part, well, there is this rather large middle tunnel, but you can also sit in the middle part. It's not the, as comfortable as on the outside seats, but this vehicle can house 5 tall adults, indeed. There's a USB-C charger here in the rear part. And finally, let's take a look here. We can fold the middle armrest down. There are more cup holders. You can also use this one here as a ski hatch. As for the panoramic roof, when it's really hot, you have this shade here. And this, really protects the whole vehicle. But you can see how far it goes. And let me show you that. So here we go. So we can lift the shade, and you see it really goes all the way. Some flies here, all the way. Takes some time, but the motor is actually quite silent, so it's not too loud. And this is really cool, especially when you sit here in the rear. Then you can look all the way to the front, and it's also possible to open that whole thing. And yeah, it's really spanning all the way wide of the vehicle, both in width and also in length. Almost convertible feeling in this compact SUV here. Oh, music, yeah. Manual hatch here. Let's take a look at the trunk or the boot. And I feel like, how you move the hatch so and how it goes up, it feels like good quality indeed. And it's 28 cubic feet for the front wheel drive, 25 cubic feet here for the all-wheel drive, because you lose a little bit of height here. The width here is 1 meter or 40 inches, so it's a good width, and the normal length of the trunk is about 85 centimeters or 33 inches. So very reusable. You can also install a cover right here. At the moment it is removed. Well, in a way it's good, because then you can easier fold the seat right here and then reach maximum length to the seat I would be driving as a tall person with like 1 meter 65 or 64 inches. What else is interesting that when we lift this one here, there is a spare tire underneath. Under the hood we have a 1.5 TSI, 4-cylinder, turbocharged, one at 60 horsepower, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, automatic gearbox, and if you go for the all-wheel drive model, you have the dual clutch transmission as auto gearbox. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Volkswagen Taos, and we'll start here in downtown LA because this is supposed to be VW's budget SUV for the US that more people are able to afford, and then, for example, also do some city driving because it still has a rather decent size and it's not too big actually. And that's again a good advantage for driving in the city. It is indeed rather compact, so when it's getting a little bit narrower somewhere in the street, for example, it's not getting annoying and you can find a good parking spot, even though when the parking spot is not too large and so on. At the same time, it's not a tiny one, so maybe when you're next to bigger SUVs or sedans or also some trucks, you don't feel like too tiny actually. So I think it's really a right-sized SUV that serves so many purposes. It is equipped with the 1.5 TSI 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine here with 160 horsepower, either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Here we are driving the all-wheel drive version, and it is with a clutch in the middle. That means we have still predominantly front-wheel drive, and if we hammer the throttle, then we also have the rear axle on demand. So the more you apply the throttle, the more you also have support from the rear wheels. It will remain then with this front wheel bias, but that's not too bad actually. It's not that you would plan to drive very sporty in this one. However, it does feel quite agile. And we know from Europe the Volkswagen T-Roc, that's a little bit smaller than this one. And in Europe we have the EU Tiguan, which is almost the same size than this one. And the Tiguan Allspace in the EU is the normal Tiguan in the US. And that is a little bit longer than this one. So when I'm driving this one here, from a European perspective, this one here feels like something between T-Roc and Tiguan. And that's not a bad thing at all, and it feels actually very good in driving. See here, the steering is very precise and progressive. You don't have to steer too much. The US spec versions, I feel that the steering is rather a little bit softer. I also felt it when driving the Volkswagen Atlas, for example. But here I found that the steering is actually better than in the Atlas. In the Atlas you have more play here in the low degree angle, and that's not the case here. Even if you have slight steering degree turns, you do have a feedback, so I think a very good steering setup here. It also changes a little bit depending on the driving mode. For example, you can go to the sports mode, then there's more throttle response, RPMs are turned up higher as well before the next shifting is taking place, and then also the steering has some more resistance. But you can also, for example, set a custom mode, and in that custom mode, for example, I adjusted it on the parking lot before, they have here a safety function that you cannot change while driving. I think it's different in the EU. So in that way, for example, I've set the custom mode, that everything else is set to the normal, but just the steering is set to a little bit more resistance. That would be my favorite setup because I like to have more natural resistance feeling in the steering actually, but want to leave everything else as it is, and that you can have by this custom mode. For example, I've did exactly the same here now. There is a great overview with this vehicle, especially here on the motorway. If you think like who's right, who's left, it's for me always a little bit special because on US motorways you can get overtaken, or you can overtake people left and right, and in Europe it's actually really strictly only allowed to overtake on the left. So it's good to have a good overview here, but you also have a blind spot monitor that appears then when someone is about to overtake you, and it's also appearing quite early, that warning. Suspension wise, there's just a normal suspension available here. There is the blind spot monitor. I'm not sure if you can see it. There's and when I set the turning indicator, then it also has a flashing effect, even warning me further. So that's a very, very good safety feature to have. And I'm feeling fairly comfortable here on the motorway. We are at 55 miles per hour, so around 100 kilometers an hour. And wind noises are actually quite good, so it's not too loud in here. And the good thing here about the Taos is really, it is an agile, versatile SUV So you already feel like you could go on a longer road trip with this one because the seating position is upright and comfortable. If you go for the lower trim specs where you have the fabric seating service, this will deliver even more comfort. Here the animal skin seating tends to get hotter in summer times, and also since the material is stiffer, it doesn't adapt to the body that well. So that it's still good comfort because the seat ergonomics is great, especially for tall people. That's the thing has been for decades with Volkswagen vehicles and also Audi. They always had good ergonomics, together with Volvo as well, for tall people. That's really important to me then, of course, in this case. And the comfort, seating comfort while driving is even better when you have then the fabric seats. So you can save money, go for the lower trim versions and have even more comfort. So it is a good vehicle here for the motorway. At the same time, it is also a good vehicle actually for winding corners. We will also do that very soon. Check out more about that, also steering, agile driving and so on. But this is to me really the special thing about this vehicle, and it's the same also with the EU Tiguan, well in a way also with the US Tiguan, because it is slightly longer and you can also have this 7-seater option in the Tiguan, or Tiguan Allspace as we call it in the EU then. But they both drive kind of similar, so not a large difference. The Tiguan you would rather pick if you want a little bit more space, or that 7-seater option that you have that, you know, just when you need it actually. And this one here, when you want to save money, and we have to go up here. So this one here, when you want to save money and don't need the space actually. But to me, this all feels really fine here. Also getting off the motorway, it is actually a very fun ride, and to me, is really crucial because we're all car enthusiasts here watching our program. But not everyone can or wants to spend so much money on a vehicle. And that's why I love vehicles that are kind of affordable, at the same time deliver driving fun, and you have basically everything you need, you know, and you have no features like, oh my God, really? Some cars do have that, you know, and that's why I love also vehicles like, you know, Honda HR-V or Honda CR-V or Honda Civic or like here the VW Taos. They are everyday driving vehicles which are fun to drive without spending too much money on, and they already deliver you all you need. That's really cool. And to me, crucial thing is really the steering feeling. It really gives you a great natural connection to the vehicle. Here now, speed hump. Yeah, the suspension is actually fine, you know. So we also have the rather bigger wheels for this vehicle here on the but they also do a good job. They are, of course, are beautiful visually. If you go for the smaller wheels, you will have a little bit more dampening comfort from the tire, but both will work fine. Screen size is also large enough for me here. That's fine. I have my my Google Maps here connected. You could also use the car internal GPS, but Google Maps or Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, they also just deliver you a better connection. Here now, acceleration. Plop, that was like a 0 to 40 miles an hour acceleration. It's not the most powerful engine. It also, you know, you could feel that the engine is working actually, but it's fine, you know. When you do like the 0-2 start, okay, it's working a little bit, but it's still fine. And this was also the normal mode. We can also, at the next chance, put it to sport mode and see how about difference there in the sport mode. The RPMs will just be turned up higher and the shifting will be later, so the acceleration will be a little bit quicker. But it's also the right sized engine for this vehicle. It's powerful enough. Due to the turbo, you also still have some acceleration when you're on the motorway, and you still need some acceleration more. So that's actually also fine. And I think they nailed it really with the package here. And Volkswagen is so extremely successful still in the European market and has been a market leader there and also in China. But in the US, they have been struggling with sales, especially in the past years. Although their portfolio here with the Taos, for example, and also with the Atlas, is not too bad. The SUVs are actually doing a good job. Problem is, of course, when they have like the big competition, especially with Toyota. That Toyota, especially among US customers, has scored so well with the reliability figures. And the running time of the cars in the US is always longer. The average, the daily commuting time, so like, and also the daily kilometers commuting. So in Europe we have like an average of 20 to 30 kilometers a day on average, and in US it's usually double, like 50 to 60 kilometers a day. And that of course more takes also focus on, hey, which car is really more reliable? And Toyota and Lexus, always when there are new reliability figures, they always score the first and second spot. And this, I think, something where Volkswagen has to work, especially with the US customers, to show like, hey, you know, we also want to go more on the reliability focus. So in Germany, I didn't have too many problems with the VWs yet, as for reliability, rather with the more recent vehicles, with the software and so on. But maybe you can also share your experience in the reliability with your Volkswagen, with your VW customer. This, however, here is not the all-new thing, platform software, and that's a good thing, because this older software, older touchscreen generation here is doing a great job. You know, it doesn't have the biggest size, it doesn't do some fancy things, but at the same time, it also doesn't do some faults while driving, and that's fine. That's all I need here, this screen and my smartphone mirroring, and this is then indeed a reliable screen mirroring. When I go to the sport mode here, by the way, once again, it really changes how the vehicle is approaching things. So when you're driving really slowly, you don't really feel a big difference or something. But when you hammer the throttle then the difference becomes obvious. Now let's see. That was like 10 to 35, and you heard there was no shifting at all in this case. Here it's keeping the RPM. This is then the sport mode, and you have a little bit more feedback. Yeah, of course it won't be the sportiest vehicle overall, but once again, keeping the price in mind. And I think that's the important thing with this vehicle. We can also think about an adaptive suspension. That would be more one thing that could increase the ride here, the riding comfort. But then again, that would also boost the price. So I can understand this product policy then in this case. And some more nice cornering here. This is where this vehicle is really a lot of fun. It has really very nice and fun handling. Of course, uphill it's not so powerful as for the engine. Yeah, but it's actually totally fine, I would say. Yeah, also when you have like a stop sign uphill, for what reason there's a stop sign here, I don't know. And you might ask yourself, okay, the price is really nice and so on, what's the catch? And our final test consumption for today, 27 mpg US, that's like 32 mpg UK. That's some 9 liters on 100 kilometers. And that's just too much for a car of that size. Madam, sir, welcome to this review of the all-new VW Amarok, here with Thomas and Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go. In this review, on-road and off-road, how capable is the new Volkswagen Amarok? And also there's a sibling here, the Ford Ranger. They're built together in the same plant. We've had that one as the Raptor recently. How similar are they? What are the differences? We'll tell you all about it. This one here is in mid blue, beautiful Thomas blue color. The Aventura trim, one of 2 top trim levels. There you can see the silver contrast right here. It looks really beautiful. It looks strong but clean at the same time. Big Amarok stamping right here. Then headlamps, LED standard, matrix LED. The IQ light is an option, but we also have other trims for you today. For example, the other top trim level would be the Panamericana, that one in a beige color. Or if you go a trim below that, the style trim, here in the red vehicle color, that one already has some design elements, but a little bit less, for example, just the lower contrasting part. And also, what about the base trim level, here in the white vehicle color? Then you have more plastic at the lower end, for example, and less design elements, but also lower entry price. We'll soon also compare the interior, but let's continue here with the strong exterior. You like my hat here for today? You know, I always try to dress accordingly to the vehicle. That's one of my hobbies. So sometimes it works very well, sometimes not so good, but I think today it does work, right? The length here in the new generation, 5.35 meters or 211 inches. And that means an overall length increase, about 10 centimeters or 4 inches. And the wheelbase increase, even more, 17 centimeters or 7 inches. Also has to do with the new Ford Ranger generation because they are building it together in a Ford plant here in South Africa. The Raptor is built in Thailand in a separate plant because it also uses different parts, but the chassis is the same, Ranger and Amarok indeed. They have different stylings here. For example, this Aventura top trim comes with these chroma-like mirrors, side steps, roof rails, contrasting. Then you have this massive sports bar right here, also with the Amarok Aventura logo. This is a very beautiful styling indeed. And about wheels, 16 to 18 inch, also maximum available with the all-terrain, and then road tires up to 21 inch. These here are the biggest road tires and they have a massive look. Looks really cool. But might they also reduce comfort? We'll find out in the driving part. So this one here, basically the road version. VW also has indeed more road focus than Ford. They also trim the suspension a little bit stiffer and also make the steering a little bit more direct, whereas Ford, of course also with the Raptor, the maximum off-road version, more goes into this off-road direction. But make no mistake, this one is also very off-road capable, has also like the 80 centimeter wading depth or also the around 30 degrees approaching angle in the front. Of course, in this case, then you would need the all-terrain tires. We'll also use them later on a different vehicle, which is more suitable for off-roading. But this one here, to me, the most beautiful road version there is, both from Ranger and Amarok. In the rear, a modern styling, really strong. Here, cool signature with the tail lamps and then the stamped in Amarok badging right here. Interesting that when you have the V6 diesel, strongest engine, then you can also have 3.5 tons in towing capacity. It really depends on the individual engine version. Payload is 1.2 tons overall. Oh, we already collected some dust here. No wonder. Then let's open this rear hatch. On the hatch actually is quite cool. We have some like cup holders, and behind this rubber lip there's a measurement scale, for example measuring like a piece of timber that's on here. But on the Ranger Raptor we had like this clamp openings here that you can really secure it, but that's not the main purpose of this vehicle here. Of course you can always have a nice picnic on here, and either from the front cabin you can open it, or with a button right here then you can open this top cover electronically. It's a very cool feature if you have that option, but looks fancy and is of course a very practical thing. You don't have to open it manually. This is the double cab. It means more cabin space, less loading length. There's also a single cab version available, then with longer bed. For example, for markets like here, South Africa. Europe concentrates on the double cab. Here, the length overall in the double cab is about 1.60 m or 61 inches. And the width right here at the entry, that's important, 120 in meters or 47 inches. Rugged material, but it can also be a little bit more simple, as we show you here in the low trim. And this is here the direct comparison, the top trim luxury version, so to speak here, the Amarok Aventura or the Panamericana. And then on the other side, this is the workhorse here, single cab, rather the commercial vehicle variant, and also lowest trim here. See here the plastic cladding and everything in a simple style, but I think it also looks pretty cool. Here then of course with the longer bed, and then of course a little bit less space, so no rear bench in the front, and also a simpler interior. We'll also compare it then later in the interior part. You know, we are a channel of details, and then we can take a detailed look here. Look at that. The daytime running light in the top trim, and here comparison to the base trim is also different. So this one also doesn't look bad at all, but of course, this span here around, it looks even more, just a little bit more modern and luxurious. And it becomes even more obvious here when you activate the turning indicators or hazard lights. Here then it replaces the daytime running light, and the same thing happens on the other side then right here. And in the back, base one here gets a normal light bulb as turning indicator, whereas the top LED trim here gets a small LED, really small turning indicator. Yeah, LED then, but it's tiny for such a huge truck, isn't it? The double cab here, comparison to the single cab, the overall length is the same. It's just this trade-off then passenger versus more cargo space. And I think it really looks cool here also in the commercial base version when it's available in your market. So why not save a lot of money and go for that one then. And the bed here of the cargo version, the base version, it folds down in a heavier way. So the other one is indeed dampened. Very interesting. So, and then you might remember, yeah, you can put like this here, this water tank here. With these tension belts, you can secure up to 400 kilograms then. That's also very interesting. And the length, you might remember, it was 1.60 meters or about 62 inches with the double cab. Here the single cab, it's way longer. Of course, no rear bench, but then you have about like 2.35 meters of the length or about 92 inches. You can see here this 2 meters or 88 inches stick here disappears completely. And you can also get some interesting third-party equipment, not available from Works, but there are different suppliers offering this, for example, like this roof tent, because this roof can also carry 350 kilograms of weight. So off-road outdoor camping, way to go.
This is the car key. This is then clearly Ford design. Not too great, but also not bad. Then door closing sound here. Also not too good, not too bad. Then inside of the doors. Interesting is it's the same, of course, for the Ranger and the Amarok here. This special opening lever is a very unique solution indeed. And the materials here are also more or less basic. But important thing is here for your elbow, you have this soft touch leatherette here.
Seating position and steering wheel. The hell? Oh, yeah, we got the steering wheel on the right side here for today because these are the earliest production versions. You know, the South African market, for example, gets, of course, then the steering wheel on the right side. But there will also be the left steerers available, of course, at a later stage. Then let's take a look at the steering wheel. This will be the same, of course. Real buttons here on the steering wheel, and this, the steering wheel, like the controls, this is more premium here in the VW version than in the Ford actually. And up and down, in and out, is a nice and smooth process indeed. By the way, if you see a contrast stitching right here, that means it's an animal skin wrap, but base versions can also be bought without an animal skin wrap. Than if you want to go completely animal free. As for the seats, the base version would start with fabric seats, and they are actually the most breathable ones, and then you can also keep the price low. Mid-trim level style, we cannot show you that one today, but that would be a seat with microfiber. That could also be a cool solution because mid-trim, already some more premium touch, not too much more money. Then also breathable microfiber. It also looks more premium than the pure fabric version. Could be a cool tip. And then these ones here in the Aventura, these are actually animal skin seats with perforation, and in the Panamericana, different structure without perforation, also animal skin. So if you want to go animal free, it's mid-trim level with the velour, with the microfiber or base fabric. And seating position and comfort is really good. Also for long journeys, no problem at all. And yeah, there's plenty of headroom left, even with 189 or 6'2". So the interior of the Amarok, similar with the Ranger in a way that we have the vertical screen layout. We haven't seen it from Volkswagen yet. However, this really changed with Volkswagen. We'll see very soon. Stay subscribed here. And then you have the steering wheel. We're always showing that to you with the real nice buttons and digital instruments. But you have two different sizes actually. This is the big setup, 2 times around 12 inch. The smaller would actually start 10 inch here and 8 inch on the other side. However, you also still have some manual buttons. For example, in the lower part here, a manual volume knob with some clicking sound, and also a drive mode selector, for example. Then you can pick the different driving modes here. And the front part here, inductive charging pad, USB A and USB C charging. And then this shifting lever here, really big, really massive. That's what I said. Then D and R reversed. Then also the rear view camera gets active, also with a fake drone view from above. And the fun thing is when you have it here on drive mode and then shut down the engine because you're finished driving, then here it automatically goes forward again. Digital instruments looks really fancy indeed. And the cool thing is when you switch the driving modes, then you have very nice visualizations for each driving mode. And this also basically comes from this Ford idea. They did that for the Ranger. But VW has implemented their own 3D animations, and that looks really, really fancy as well. I love that. It's an emotional feature. You could say it's more like playing around, but something is just lovely to look at, isn't it? Infotainment system, it is the Ford back end, but it is the VW front end actually. That is very interesting. And you can see here, this is the GPS, the car internal one. It's actually also quite responsive, and it is one that is actually very well usable. And here VW profits from Ford because Ford has a better back end at the moment for the infotainment system, and so it's also more stable. The temperature is selected right here like this or like this. Not my favorite thing indeed is the seat heating, or here the whole climate menu where you can also then actually control where the vents are coming from, like this. This is also very nice visualization, isn't it? And this in the top part here, once again the main menu. Here you also have the vehicle settings. You can, by the way, here for this display, select different modes. So for example, auto mode or dark or light, this would be then the light mode. There we go. I prefer the dark mode, or set to auto that it adapts according to the light. Now what about the voice input if the temperature unit is so complicated? Set temperature to 22 degrees.
Setting temperature to 24 degrees.
Well, so it works in theory, but that was the wrong direction indeed. And Android Auto or Apple CarPlay integration. It's really large indeed. So let's take a look at that. Here we go. This overview or like this. This looks really crisp and clear indeed. So like that. And yeah, that's old school trance music. Harman Kardon sound system. Is decent sound. Not the best ones I've heard, you know, but yeah, for music lovers you should go for the Harman Kardon system. Then the drive mode selector. This would be rear-wheel drive. 4A is the all-wheel drive automatic. It's predominantly rear-wheel drive and just some, you know, front axle and on demand. That's actually the ideal mode for most situations. This one then for off-road driving, 4H, this is with the center differential lock then that you have 50-50 permanent all-wheel drive actually. For L, then you have to put the driving selector also to neutral, that it actually works. And then this is the off-road gear reduction for 4 low, if you have even more extreme off-road situations. If it gets even more extreme, then you have the rear differential lock right here. Front differential lock, like in the Ranger Raptor, is not available. Cup holders are also with adaptive function, actually decent. And this armrest here is not that well attached. That wouldn't happen in a VW vehicle. Actually, there you see it's more the Ford build quality indeed. Here underneath, then with some more space. Yeah, this is typical, you know, a comment. This is like a meme here. Timestamp Thomas in the rear seats, because sometimes it looks funny when me as a tall person sitting here in the back. Headroom is no problem actually. It works also for tall people, but legroom is very limited indeed. So it only works if I use this recess. So the front seat would need to be a little bit higher, maybe like this, then it works. But you know, as the seat was, as I was driving, it's really cramped with the knees, so there's not much legroom here in the rear, that's for sure. Then you can see here, you can a little bit, there it is. Yeah, it's a tough one. You see the cup holders, not adaptive though. More basic build quality here indeed. And with the rear bench here, you can do two following things. By the way, in the lower part, you also have 12-volt power supply and a real power socket here. That's quite cool. Then here with that rear bench, you can either fold down this one here completely. Not sure if it is much use or something. Maybe if you want to put some more rugged things on here and don't want to damage the seats. And you can also here in the front, you can put out this one here and then lift the bench up. And then there's, for example, here, you know, like for changing tires and so on. So some more small spaces. And interesting also here, the interior comparison in the single cab and lowest trim. Here, first of all, with fabric seats, so this is actually fitting quite nicely. They're also quite comfortable. They also have some side support, and they're actually a little bit more breathable than the slick materials. So very interesting indeed. Why not? Here also with manual gearbox, and also the other screens. Told you earlier, this one here is the little bit smaller screen than here. So a smaller screen on the left side, and also the smaller digital instruments. And here this is also the PU steering wheel, so hard touch. But actually, overall, for a base low trim version, it makes a good quality impression indeed. Under the hood, there is either a 2-liter TDI, 150 horsepower, 170 horsepower, or with around 200 horsepower, then with twin turbo. Next step would be this one here, the 3-liter V6 TDI with around 250 horsepower, strongest diesel. Then you can also get on petrol side a 2.3-liter EcoBoost by Ford, this one then with 300 horsepower. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, here with the VW Amarok in the new generation, driving the 3-liter V6 diesel. And this is then a very powerful, torque-intensive engine indeed. Here around 250 horsepower, so very torque-intensive engine that is, so I always have good performance accelerating it out. First of all, driving performance, what counts for all the different engine models is, indeed, VW has tuned the steering to a more direct input. The Raptor already for the Ranger version has a quite direct input, but here the base VW input is just more direct in itself. It feels more passenger car-alike. It is easier to steer, more fun on road driving, and we'll see later on also if it makes any problem in off-road driving. So what I mean by that here, look at that. There's no dead zone area from the steering, always good command on the road. It's a lot of fun to steer it indeed. And here in South Africa, it can happen that you get from a road situation to an off-road situation, and then a vehicle like this is of course a very suitable one. We also have another beige Amarok in front of us. They're now putting out the camera to film us behind probably. Yeah, that looks really amazing indeed with the dust now. Yeah, and the thing is here with the 21-inch top wheels, they do reduce the comfort significantly indeed. So I would advise for better driving comfort, stay with smaller wheels indeed, even if it's road use. These wheels are of course best to show off to your friends. And when the road is even, then it's no problem at all, you know. As soon as you have some bumps on the road or some soft off-roading, they will significantly reduce the comfort. So again, my tip would be stay with some smaller wheels. The suspension is not bad at all, but then in combination with the big wheels, a lot of bumps are being transported indeed to your body. That's what you have to calculate with. Usually here you would stay either in the rear-wheel drive only mode, or you would go with the 4H mode, which I'm on at this moment, because then predominantly the rear-wheel wheels are always driven or powered. But then again, if you need some traction on the front wheels, it is always possible, and it is sent to the front wheels. And like this, situation like here, uphill, and then maybe I accelerate a little bit harder or something, and then also the front wheels are attacking the road. There is also a gauge here in the instruments I can take a look at, and then I can always see the all-wheel drive distribution in that case. So it's a very practical thing, definitely. In general, the driving position is very comfortable. You can also imagine longer rides. The microfiber seats or the fabric seats, to me, probably would be even more comfortable. Or looking forward to drive the microfiber seats at a later stage, because here, no matter if animal skin or leather red surface, the slick surfaces are always a little bit harder just from the from the surface. Here at the moment I already have some power on the front wheels, but more power on the rear wheels, so the rear wheel bias indeed remains. Is there a big difference driving the Ranger and the Amarok? Well, indeed the difference is that the steering input here to me is a little bit more precise with the Amarok. That's what I really like. Suspension, I also talked to the engineers and they said they tuned it here a little bit stiffer for the Amarok to again have a little bit more road focus. So when you're driving off-road, then it will be better with the Ranger. On-road, you will have more feeling for the car with the Amarok once again. Other than that, since chassis is also the same, it won't be the biggest difference. What I've felt now, bit by bit, is however that some of the materials being used and the user interface and so on, knobs on the steering wheel, is a little bit better with the VW. So when you're driving this one here, you maybe feel, let's say, less off-road rugged cool, but you feel a little bit more sophisticated. I think that's this kind of differentiation also from the exterior design, and it also delivers what it promises. You know, the Ranger with a little bit more off-road focus and this off-road design, exterior and interior, and the Amarok then more with this on-road emphasis, both in exterior and interior design and also driving-wise. And I think that's actually a quite clever choice to do that in that way. And if you wonder, by the way, well, why have VW gone away from this separate setup anyways? Well, if they would not have done this cooperation here with Ford, the Amarok would have died. There would have been no Amarok successor. And in this case, for everyone who still wants to have an Amarok, you can still have it. Yeah, now they're waiting for us. Yeah, shall we get them the shots for the cam? Yeah, of course. The driving mode selector, I mean, usually you could just leave it in normal mode and that's it, but there are different modes. For example, this slippery mode, for example, or also your deep snow and sand and so on. And then also the off-road functions adapt to that accordingly. But more to that definitely soon in our off-road driving part. On-road driving here so far is a lot of fun. You feel sophisticated. It is a truck and you get a lot of attention. We were driving just a couple of minutes and, you know, people were lowering the window saying, oh, what a cool truck. It's really awesome. So people love it actually design-wise. At the same time, it literally drives not like a huge truck, but it drives as easy as a normal passenger car. And fuel economy, if you do some more efficient driving here with a 3-liter V6, around 11 liters on 100 kilometers, 12 liters on 100 kilometers if you use the power a little bit more. If you also have some soft off-roading section like gravel roads and so on. So that's around the 20 mpg mark US and around 25 mpg UK. The smaller diesel expected to consume a liter less of fuel on 1 kilometers, so a little bit or a couple more mpg plus, and the 2.3 liter petrol engine, we have to see about that, probably also around in that range. And now to some off-road driving. We switched to a vehicle with 18-inch all-terrain tires, and I also can tell you more about differences than to the Ford Ranger Raptor. We've driven that one earlier, and well, here first of all I just stay in the normal road mode because this then you can still for this car count as soft off-road driving. I also see the all-wheel drive distribution right here, and in that way I predominantly drive rear-wheel drive. It's not a strong obstacle yet. Here with these all-terrain tires, of course, I have more comfort than with these road 21-inch wheels where you have only, you know, hardly any dampening left. If you could directly compare with the tires we had on the Ranger Raptor, of course, these were even more off-road suitable and softer. So the smaller you go with the wheels, the softer it will be, and also the better for off-road driving. And what you also feel in the Ranger Raptor, you had this adaptive suspension, which did a great job actually in balancing everything out. That you had great road driving, at the same time you also had great off-road driving. And here definitely the VW setup from suspension is a little bit stiffer. On the road that's good, but on off-road driving this vehicle is still super capable, yes, but it's a little bit less comfortable than on off-road driving when it has this stiffer setup overall. The steering, as I said earlier, is also set out for road driving. Really cool looking off a track here, isn't it? However, the thing is that it's not too bad here either. So I don't need the off-road setup of the steering. I rather prefer the VW steering setup. It's a little bit more crisp, a little bit more direct. You feel what you're doing all the time. At the same time, when it gets a little bit more challenging, it's no problem at all, actually. So it's a lot of fun to drive this vehicle off-road here. You have a good visibility here to the front. Here now with some, you know, leaning left and right. And so far, even that one, the car can easily do that in the normal driving mode, because when I need some more torque on the front wheels, the car will do that automatically. As soon as it gets more challenging, then I would pick the 4H mode. That is then the permanent all-wheel drive. And if it would be even stronger, like with rock climbing and so on, this is then the time for the 4L, then with the off-road gear reduction 4L for low. But you can really then adjust it to the situation what you need. The thing is, even when you're driving off-road, it is more fun to use the normal mode because you're just more flexible. You know, you have rear-wheel drive predominantly, and when you don't need strong front traction yet, better leave it in that mode. You will have, you know, just more fun, just more maneuverability. Also, when you drive a little bit faster off-road and so on, it will just feel more flexible, the whole vehicle, and then you can adjust it bit by bit. So now it gets a little bit heavier, and then we switch to the 4H, and that means now we have permanent all-wheel drive, because I now also need that front traction for this rock climbing, this crawling here, a little bit slower. I also have to pick my line wisely here, so because it's always critical that you do not damage the tires when you hit a stone in a very bad angle or something. And of course it gets a little bit slower now, but you know, this, whoa, these off-road driving situations, the thing is, on camera, I mean, we were totally sideways now, and on camera it looks so simple, but when you feel the G-forces here sitting in the vehicle, then you know what is actually happening, and it's really extreme situation. This vehicle is really very much off-road capable. And I mean, this what I know. You know, when we do off-road driving parts, there's always a comment like, oh, my Ford Fiesta can also do that. The first part, yes. This one, what we just did, probably not. And for now, the 4H is fine. This is not recommended for road driving, by the way. You can theoretically, but you lose some agility because you have this distribution and rear and front locked, basically. I also see it here in the visualization, and you feel it when you turn in. It's not as extreme as with really old pickup trucks, but here you feel the turning circle is not as narrow and so on. So the car feels less agile, but you need it then, of course, for that front-wheel drive traction while off-road driving. Really beautiful off-road track we have here in South Africa near Cape Town today. And now it's time for 4 low, indeed. Put it to the neutral gear selector here. Then I can switch it to the 4L. ESC off completely. Now I'm in 4L, and this is then the mode of gear reduction. So I have more. I cannot drive in a high speed or fast way now, but now I'm really slowly here getting on these trails. Now I have the best torque and best traction for off-road driving. Wow, this is, once again, on the camera it looks not extreme, but it is extreme. Now, yeah, there was some spin detected, but since I have now the off-road mode available, yeah, and that might also be a case now, yeah, I might try to the rear differential lock, so that is available then just with the press of the button, because when the rear differential lock is not activated, it can happen that, for example, when one wheel doesn't have traction at all, they just keep spinning. But that way now, with the rear differential lock, both tires, left and right at the rear, they then work in a very same speed because they're locked by the differential lock, and then you have, you know, slowly even more traction at the side where you have traction on at this moment, and then you can almost get up anywhere. And yeah, we heard it earlier, the ascending angle also around 30 degrees, so you can really approach a lot of big things. Very important off-road driving technique is, by the way, when you have something really, you know, big ahead or like a big dip or something. We just did that as well. Then you can approach it, you know, a little bit sideways with the front wheels, because the same way, imagine you are going up a hill straight, or you're going a hill up in serpentines, you know, like in curvy roads. That way it is easier, basically, and not that steep. And the same happens with the front wheels, that you can basically, you know, have a less steep approach than to it. It's a very important technique. Here, of course, I can just go straight, more or less. And now I'm not driving too fast, but I have to keep on the gas now, that we can still make this up. Big challenge now for the vehicle. Whew! Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Getting really rough now. Steady speed is very then important. Slow but steady speed. And you've seen now here also, I'm keeping my thumbs on the steering wheel, not in the steering wheel, as I recommend for road driving, because the steering wheel might change direction quite quickly, and that could actually dislocate my thumbs. And yeah, if you still want to see some Autogefühl reviews in the future, that might not be a good idea to dislocate the thumbs right now. So here now going in this really big dips. Car is also sliding a little bit because the ground is a little bit sandy, so very challenging off-road terrain here, but yeah, definitely very off-road capable. Not as off-road capable as the Ranger Raptor, of course, because it is just such a special version then of the Ford Ranger sibling. But definitely for a more or less normal VW Amarok, yeah, definitely also step ahead. So if you compare the off-road capabilities previous generation to this generation Amarok, it definitely has been enhanced and even more comfortable with more off-roadish tires and, you know, with even smaller rims. But overall, still also very impressed what this one here can do off-road, and also in a very, let's say, easy manner. You don't have to be the biggest off-road expert. Of course, I already have some off-road experience meanwhile over the last 10 years. But it's very, you know, very likable handling also here in off-road driving.
So very interesting to take a look at these SUVs. The Touareg, of course, gives you the most sophisticated ride, the largest one also on the platform, together with the Q7, Q8, the Cayenne, the Bentayga, and so on. However, the price is also very high if you really want to afford that. The Tiguan directly follows after that, soon also gets the Tayron, the different version that will be the 7-seater in the EU, and basically the US Tiguan then. So here the Tiguan already offers a sophisticated ride and a notable size. However, you can also go smaller than with the T-Roc, and this one gets the driving fun price here, of course, especially as the R version. The Taigo and T-Cross are very good in outside space to inside space. Actually, the same also counts for the Taos. So these three actually offer a decent amount of space on the inside without being too big on the outside. So overall, I would, if I need a smaller one, pick the T-Roc and profit from the driving fun, but already get, so to speak, the Golf platform. Or if I need a little bit more space and also want a little bit more sophistication in the ride, go with the VW Tiguan. Maybe rather low spec, because a high spec Tiguan, as we also showed recently, is already very expensive. Only if price doesn't play a role, the Touareg might be in consideration. But I feel overall the sweet spot is definitely the Tiguan. Which one would you pick and why? Tell me in the comments, and also join us for more comparison episodes.